to the January 16th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with Town Board's enactment of Local Law 14 of 2022. Our next meeting and those following will also be held in person here at Town Hall and will continue to allow for remote participation. So please continue to check the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's meeting only and not participate, please do not join the Zoom and instead go to the town's website for viewing access. With that, I'd ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you here with us tonight, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of the room to one of the staircases across the hall and continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall from this room. We'll begin this meeting with public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being monitored by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it's their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find you're having difficulties accessing the hearing, visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Also, for those of you in this boardroom, please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another as it interferes with the recordings of our proceedings. Tonight, board member Helen Burgess is participating via Zoom. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking other than attorneys will be sworn in and state their address for the record and will offer testimony as it relates to the application before the board. In order to consider properly every application before us tonight, individuals commenting on a particular application have a time limit of 3 minutes. Also, before handing in any submissions to the board tonight, please make sure documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. The application name should also be written on your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated at the end of an individual application hearing, all applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a set date. Those written comments can be addressed to the members of the board and sent via email, mail, and or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cowell, in the building department. At this time, I would like a motion to approve the minutes of the January 2nd meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. John, do you want to take us through the agenda, please?
Yes. We'll start with the adjournments on the applications, beginning with application number 8, Wilderness Trail JV LLC. I move to adjourn. Do we take a vote on a holdover?
Mhm.
Okay, I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to March 6th.
Second. Third.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio. Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 9 on the agenda, the application of 2297 Montauk LLC. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to March 6th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio. Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 10 on the agenda, the application of Gary Fitterman. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to March 20th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 11 on the agenda, application of Brian Farrell. I move to adjourn the hearing on the application to March 20th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
Number 13 on the agenda, application of 96 Wilshire Street LLC. I move to adjourn this hearing on this application to March 6th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
The number 14 on the agenda, application of 96 Wilshire Street LLC. I move to adjourn the hearing of this application to March 6th.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Votes aye.
Number 15 on the agenda, application for a secret resolution at Wilderness Trail JV LLC. Move to adjourn the hearing on this to February 6th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And finally, on the decision calendar, I move to adjourn the decisions on the applications of Kristen Sosulski and Joseph G. Wagner III Irrevocable Trust to February 6th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay.
Okay, turning back to the top of the agenda, application number 1, agenda item number 1, application of 15 Rogers Lane LLC, 15 Rogers Lane, Remsenburg, Spionk, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-354-3-3.2. Applicant requests the following relief from Town Code Section 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations. 1, for proposed front porch, a principal front yard setback of 53.5 feet where a minimum of 60 feet is required. And 2, for proposed window bump out, a principal front yard setback of 58.9 feet where a minimum of 60 feet is required, and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction. This is a minor application, so there is no public hearing on this. Typically, we do have a decision ready for the end of the night, but we do need to make a referral on this. And the building department comments also noted that they wanted plans submitted. So we did get those plans. Those will be circulated, and assuming we have the referral to Conservation Board, there can be a decision at the next meeting.
Can I make one note of observation? Much of the predicate for the proposal relies on the screening in front of the house. And if anybody went, they're eastern red cedars, and they're cut from about 5.5 feet down. So all you see is sticks of the remaining stumps of the eastern red cedars. So the screening is terrific if you're 12 feet tall, and it's sticks if you're at ground level. So
All right, but I think that,
I don't know what to do with that other than let you know.
okay, thank you. We appreciate that. Okay,
Okay,
so,
moving to.
well, wait, did we make a motion?
Oh.
And this is yours, Bob. Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, we holding it open then, or?
Now, we're gonna make a decision on this.
Well, you
the-
can't.
Keep it open for written submissions.
She'll,
Yeah, hold on, written decision,
with a decision on, yeah.
we're gonna go to 2.7 or 2:20?
You can do
2:20.
a decision for 2/6 as long as we have the
You're not
request.
gonna put a deadline
2/6?
on the written submissions, you're gonna written submissions and then decision 2/6.
Okay.
Written submissions and decision on 2.6.
Second.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, turning to number 2 on the agenda, application of Michael Sonnenfeld, 1135 Mecox Road, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-134-2-25.2. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed one-family dwelling. 1, Section 330-115C, continuance for a principal rear yard setback from 41.5 feet to 19 feet in an areaway, a principal rear yard setback from 41.5 feet to 13.7 feet. 2, Section 330-84D, pyramid law for a sky plane encroachment of 1,160 cubic feet to the west. In addition, applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-109, fences, walls, accessory driveway structures, and clotheslines in 330-103, corner clearance to have a 4-foot fence, opaque vegetation, and a 6-foot fence in the required front yard and within 50 feet of a corner on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction. I'm just passing down 2 written submissions from the applicant.
All right, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley, New York, 11967.
Okay. So tell us about this application.
Okay. So, the subject property is located on the southwest corner of Mecox Road and Atlantic Avenue, also known as Ocean Road, in an R80 zoning district in the hamlet of Bridgehampton. The property is non-conforming to the zoning district at 62,753 square feet. The lot currently contains an existing two-story residence and detached garage and shop, that has a certificate dated May 21st, 1979. The proposed project is comprised of removal of the existing two-story dwelling with construction of a new two-story dwelling with associated decking, porches, finished basement with egress, well, and areaway, and a partially covered at-grade patio with pergola. The lot also contains a freshwater pond on the east side of the existing residence and wholly within the boundaries of the property. The pond is regulated by both the Town Conservation Board and the DEC. Both of those agencies have reviewed this project and approved it in its entirety. Copies of those approvals were submitted with our application. A recent variance was issued on this property for a similar project on April 6, 2017 to my client, Mr. Sonnenfeld. Was decision number D017051. We submitted a copy of that as well with our application. So that variance approved a principal rear yard setback of 19 feet for a new two-story dwelling where 45 feet is existing, as well as a principal front yard of 48.4 feet where 61.1 feet exists from the Mecox Road side of the property. And a pyramid variance in the total of 1,224.5 cubic feet. Since that time, the owner never constructed the project, but it changed architects and modified the plans to accommodate a similar residence in approximately the same location. Similar to the variance that was previously submitted. So the house has been designed to be as energy efficient as possible to meet today's passive standards and reduce overall power needs to the property. The house will maintain the 19-foot rear yard setback that was previously granted in the 2017 variance. However, an egress light well is also proposed for the finished basement on the west side of the residence, with a proposed rear yard setback of 13.7 feet. Both setbacks are reduced from the pre-existing non-conforming rear yard setback of 41.5 feet from section 330-115C. Additionally, this newer design requires pyramid variance from 330-84D in the amount of 1,160 cubic feet, which is less than that was granted previously.
Was that 1,160?
Yes, down from 1224.5. So lastly, the property is a corner lot fronting on a busy back road intersection of Mecox and Ocean Road, especially in the summer, as you might know. It's fenced by an existing 8-foot wire deer fence that's proposed to be removed and replaced on the property with a 4-foot wire fence. That's one of the handouts that I did. It explains exactly what I'm talking about. It's a 4-foot wire fence on the property line with a 5-foot wide native hedgerow and then a 6-foot stockade solid fence behind that to act as a psychological deer fence. Said fence combination will require variances from 330-109 and 330-103 for the corner clearance to be installed on the true lot line in lieu of the 50-foot arc required per the code. So the Conservation Board has imposed a vegetative buffer on the property that surrounds the entire pond. You can see it on the survey, as well as extending 75 feet landward of the pond on the west side to mitigate the impacts of the proposed new residence. Our office worked very closely with the Conservation Board during that hearing process to come up with this proposed fencing in order to deter deer from invading the subject property. This project has been allowed as a pilot program with the Conservation Board and is fully approved by the DEC as well.
What do you mean, a pilot program?
What are you piloting?
We're trying to see if this method will work properly.
A 6-foot fence?
It's a wire fence with a hedge and then the 6-foot fence. It's to deter deer from jumping through it, because the psychology of it is that deer won't jump over things they can't see. So if you give them this larger area to potentially jump, they may not jump. So the Conservation Board has approved this as an experiment, essentially, to see if it will work.
But what part of it have they approved? Is it closer to the wetlands than it should be? I mean,
Yes,
it is.
technically it's within an area that they would not normally allow a fence,
Any fence.
because they don't normally allow a fence on a property line if it's a buffer. But we're requesting to maintain it because of the location and to try to deter the deer from taking over the property. Otherwise, essentially, if there's no fence here, the fence would typically be allowed by the Conservation Board at the landward edge of the buffer closest to the structure, which would mean that the entire pond would be open to not necessarily the deer is not the problem, but it's also for my client to continue to maintain the pond within the metes and bounds of his property and his fence line so he can enjoy the pond, also for the security of the property and safety. Because this is a busy intersection, if there was an accident, be it pedestrian or vehicle, the likelihood of a vehicle ending up in the pond is pretty great, actually, without this vegetative and fence line protection.
So let's slow this down. On the fence issue, the only thing before this board is the stockade fence at 6 feet. Is that true?
And the
what-
location
what
and
else?
the
No,
corner
it's
clearance.
corner clearance.
And corner clearance,
So
okay.
with that,
I see what you got.
so corner clearance, I kind of went ahead of my
Sorry,
speech.
I didn't mean to cut you off. The pilot program just
So now I gotta go
got
back.
my interest.
Let me see where I was. I got all of this. Oh, so part of the one thing I should say about the fences is that in working with the Conservation Board, we're trying to deter deer, but not the smaller animals. So the fences will be raised 6 to 8 inches off of grade to allow the small guys to come through and still allow for natural habitat for the smaller animals. So the town right-of-way on both Mecox and Ocean Roads is larger than most right-of-ways that you'll see throughout the town. The widths of it range between 26 to 35 feet between the property line and the actual roadbed, which is it's rare, I believe. So 33103 calls for corner clearance to be taken from 2 points, one on each intersecting road, each located 50 feet from the intersection of the street lines. So on that fence plan that I submitted to you tonight, the surveyor is showing in orange what the code calls for. So what I'm showing in red is where the roads actually intersect, not on the property line, but the roads themselves intersect, and then 50 feet off of those, to show that that would be entirely outside of the property line.
So you're saying there really isn't a corner clearance issue, is that what you're saying?
No, in my opinion, there is not. And I've submitted these photographs so that you can see what it looks like from nearly every angle.
So are you requesting that relief because your application was denied for that purpose?
Now, why are you asking?
Yeah,
for
why are you
relief?
asking for that relief?
Was it
It's-
denied by the
Was
building
it denied by the
department?
building department?
Well, it's
I can't tell from the denial sheet.
technically, by letter of the law, the orange triangle from the property lines is what corner clearance is supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
I see
So
what you're saying.
you're saying you're supposed to take corner clearance from property lines, not
Yes.
street lines.
Yes. However, in this case, it's unique in that the entirety of that area is a covenanted buffer zone that's not allowed to have structures in it, technically. So the Conservation Board has been kind enough to agree to allow us to maintain a fence line on the property line, because we'll still be allowing wildlife to come under the fence to enter the wetland area. But we are seeking to maintain that fence line. If we have to move it, then we have to go back to them to get a reapproval and redo. We have to get a majority plus one on the covenant to change it.
The fence you're talking about now is the 4-foot wire fence.
And the 6.
It's technically on a corner lot, you're allowed to have a 6-foot fence set 5 feet into the property line. I have
Unless
the
it
code.
creates an obstruction to people,
Yeah.
vehicular traffic, such that they wouldn't be able to see around the
Right.
corner.
So
Where's
if
the,
you,
give me the citation for that, please.
I have the code.
339.
It's 109, 6, B, and C.
And it says specifically what?
It says corner lot fences and walls. Fences and walls on corner lots may be up to 6 feet high in required front yards that are opposite side lot lines. Only if, B is if the fence is set back a minimum of 5 feet from the front lot line. And then C is appropriate ornamental planting or natural buffer is provided in the form of plant material approved by the ARB or the planning board.
But this is not set back 5 feet from the.
It is. The 6-foot fence is set back
set
5
back
feet.
5 feet. The
Yeah.
4 foot is not.
The 4 foot is
It's
on the property line, which is technically okay. And that's also a wire fence. So the main issue here is not so much the fence, but the location, particularly in the corner area. So in these photos that I've submitted, if you look at photo number 8 on the bottom here, ironically, when we took this photo, there happened to be a truck at the stop sign. So you can see when a car stops, that stop line is entirely forward of the existing vegetation on my client's property. And you can see that again in photo number 12.
And help us understand the picture you're showing here with this, what looks like a large hedge. How does that relate to is that proposed to be kept as is with the stockade fence behind it, or orient what we're looking at to what you're proposing?
Sure. So a lot of that existing hedge is dilapidated privet because it's
Okay.
not getting enough light. So we'll be removing that and replacing it with bayberry and
How far
winterberry.
forward or back?
And that will be in between the two fence lines. So essentially, the fences right now are there's a wire fence you can see in some of these photos.
Okay.
Actually on the survey, the wire fence right now, the wire fence is inset a few feet. So where the hedge is now would actually be the hedge that we're proposing.
Okay,
It would be the same.
thank you. And then the fence, you're proposing that the 6-foot stockade fence would be behind
be
it, and the
behind
wire
that.
fence would be in front.
Yes.
Okay.
So because of the largesse, let's say, of the right-of-way, that's partially due to the fact that there's a culvert that goes under Mecox Road, and it's a drainage swale that comes into the pond on my client's property. It's a little bit narrower on Ocean Road, but because of that wide right-of-way, the road itself is farther from where you're actually turning in relation to the property.
And how far does this fence go all the way around? Is this just on the corner, or?
It would go around the entire property.
Okay.
And there's no ability to move the fence back?
If we move the fence back, it would be within the covenanted, naturally vegetated, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer imposed by the Conservation Board and approved by the DEC. So if we have to move that, we would have to go back to the drawing board with both of them or just have no fence, which we see as a detriment.
So that's true perhaps in this corner area, but not necessarily every place else where it's fronting on a road.
Well, for a safety issue, not necessarily, not as much, but then it's a matter of we're trying to deter deer to preserve the vegetation that is ornamental on the property.
Is this, with all due respect, I'm not insulting you, the theory of the wire fence, the hedge, and the stockade fence, is this the imagination of a member on the board, or is this a professional opinion from a wildlife biologist saying I have good evidence to believe that this protocol will result in
Yes.
a desirable outcome?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is something that has been done elsewhere that we've researched and discussed with the board, and that's.
And it wouldn't have the same detrimental or discouraging effect if it was a 4 foot and a 4 foot?
No,
Why?
because they can jump right over 4 feet. They could jump 6 feet.
But I thought it was psychologically bound to stop them from jumping at all.
Yeah,
Well-
and with the hedge in between, which is not going to be,
Well,
you know.
they won't jump apparently things they cannot see. If they can't see over it, they're less likely to jump over it.
Can you send us if they have some
Analysis. of this.
peer-reviewed documentation that shows this is a solid theory that we're testing? And then the reason I'm asking is I'm imagining 55,000 individual applications for deer fencing.
Absolutely.
Or find a variance that this board has granted for a 6-foot fence. I mean, you know
We
you're up
have
against.
Never granted.
So
a
it's
front.
not, this is technically not a variance for the 6-foot fence because it
Stephanie, it's
would
written up
be,
that way. It literally
a
says for a
conform-
6-foot fence in the required
6
front
foot.
yard and within the 50-foot corner clearance.
well, I don't agree with that then,
So you
because
think
that's
this
not
whole, you
what,
think this whole 6-foot fence around all front yards is permitted?
because they're, yeah,
Setback.
But didn't you just read to us
because
that
it
it's
would
only
be
one
5
portion?
feet. Well, it would, so, okay.
I mean,
In theory, it says if it's next to a side
yeah. I
side
mean,
lot
not in
line.
theory, that's what the code says.
Yes. So these are both fronts. We're counting this western lot line as a rear, which would make this southern side a side. So then the Ocean Road side, you would technically be allowed to have that fence 5 feet off, according to the code. On Mecox, you would not.
Hence the variance for a 6-foot fence in the required front yard.
That's right. We don't grant 6-foot fences in front yards, as you know. So we're very reluctant, at least I'm very reluctant, to consider it in this case. I mean, you gave me a citation, I want to take a look at the corner lot and the 5 feet and whatever, but,
And we're referring it to the conservation board, so maybe Marty, maybe Marty will drum it up. Maybe Marty will say, I definitely think this is a great idea. I think this is a great, pilot project. I don't.
yeah, but I think Kevin's point about we're going to have 55,000 applications for
6 foot.
I've never heard this
fences in
theory.
the front
and
yard.
I've never heard this theory, A. B, the agricultural industry has the keenest interest in the secret solution to deer incursions into their property and eating all the products that they're growing. So it could be fascinating, and I look forward to reading anything that's on it. And the reason I asked, was it a professional wildlife biologist's opinion? I'd like to see it, as opposed to a board member who might have a curiosity that found its way into a permit that's sitting in front of us.
So this property is kind of.
If I may, but I think we're getting a little far afield. I mean, I think we need to zero in on what is the purpose of it. The purpose of it is not to have a pilot program to see whether deer don't jump into a
Right.
yard. The purpose, it seems to me, is to protect ornamental nursery plantings, which are exorbitantly expensive, and to protect a pond Because of course, a pond is a natural attractor to deer because they're searching for water. So I think what we need to kind of balance here is what the owner is seeking to do.
Well, it was in the application.
Yeah.
He's seeking privacy, quiet, non-access to the, well, I don't need to say it, you
And
can
that's
say
the
it.
need. That's the purported need. Is
But
that
also,
need
but also
enough for us?
protecting the buffer, right? I mean, it's not just
Well,
the ornamental
it's-
plantings, it is the buffer that's Marty's requiring, right?
It would be on the landward edge of that buffer. So this property is, although it's a corner lot, typically when you have a house on a corner lot, it's not in the rear yard. This house is all the way in the rear yard because the pond is taking up the majority of the property. So you don't have like a typical where the house would be here and I'm asking you for fence that goes, I don't know, somewhere different. The house is all the way into the lot, so it's not, the pond is a unique circumstance.
Can I, one other thing to Kevin's point about this somehow generating a wave of applications for this kind of fencing. And I'm just wondering, I'm not a wildlife behavior expert at all. Is there an unintended consequence that if everything gets fenced off this way, deer are suddenly on the roads only? And instead of cutting through people's yards, we're gonna have a lot more accidents. I don't know, but I just wanna be sure somebody
I think that's one
thinks
of the
about
reasons.
that.
That's a very good
I
point.
think that's one of the reasons why we have the
No 6 foot.
no 6 foot.
Because you need to give them ingress and egress, they need to have passage.
Yeah, is it
We
a
can't
safety,
cut them off.
fundamentally a safety issue? I don't know.
Well, it sounds to me like we're now balancing safety issues. Okay, is the corner clearance okay? So we're not worried about vehicular accidents, but then are we worried about vehicular accidents because of increased deer activity?
All right.
Good.
Anybody else have comments? I'm picking up that we need some more information. Okay, John, this is yours. What information would you be looking for?
Well, I'd love some more information about this purported pilot program. I mean, the things that Kevin has brought up. Oh, one question I had, is the owner of this property still the owner of the adjacent property as stated in the previous variance?
Technically, this property is part of a larger estate. He is his own neighbor to the east, to the west, and to the south.
Okay, so we're not gonna have neighbors coming in and saying, I don't wanna have this because he's his neighbor. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I think we need more information on the deer fencing. With regard to the other issues, the other requests for relief, I think they kind of comport with what's already been granted in the 2017 variance. So that's not as concerning to me. And it's also, the pyramid relief is less than what you were granted before, so I don't have a problem with that.
I would concur with that assessment, and since the owner of this lot is the adjacent neighbor on two more, the fence issue presents itself with a little more relevance.
Yeah.
Well, it's not hypothetical anymore that somebody else is gonna come in and ask for the same thing if you have somebody owning the two adjacent lots with the same interest.
He's gonna say, now I'm building on the other lots and I wanna put up a 6-foot fence and give me a variance
Well, it's
for it.
not just the adjacent lots, it's for everybody else in the community.
Yeah.
But do you know what kind of a fence is on the adjacent lots?
I think
There's a
right
fence.
now that there's wire fence
What height?
around all of the lots. I don't know if it's all 8 feet. Technically, it's not supposed to be.
This is a solvable problem, right? This is not the greatest problem the board has ever been presented with, so I think we could probably get through this, but, the idea that the fences and the hedge is gonna prevent a car from going into the pond if it was at the right speed, it won't matter. So, I'm just not sure I'm buying some of this, and I just wanted to let you know that.
It looks like the adjacent property has an 8-foot fence,
Yeah, it looks like 8 feet.
and that's not according to code.
Right.
So, All right, what do we want to do with this, John?
I'd like
Anybody
to
else?
hold it open for additional consideration.
I think we have to look at a couple of things. I want to look at that citation that you gave me on corner, and as Katie said, that really only applies to one section, if at all, right?
Yeah, and I do think, listen, we should wait until we hear back from the Conservation Board as well, because I think, Marty's input does go a long way, and it certainly wouldn't, balance the possible precedent setting, but he could come up with something possibly creative, like maybe, give it a year or something, if he
Don't
really
you have
believes in this.
did it go to the Conservation Board already?
Everything's approved by the
Yeah, I mean
Conservation
more like
Board
the
on
referral
EDC.
report.
Yeah.
He could beef up the referral report and explain a little bit more about the pilot program. The Conservation Board, unlike the Planning Board, is, they're only bound by the Chapter 325. So it doesn't necessarily matter to the Conservation Board whether it meets zoning, it's just whether it meets setbacks from the wetlands.
Yeah, right, but we have zoning and they have
Well,
conservation, so
and
we
he-
run, two different,
Right, and his consideration is more how close is it to the wetlands and
Yeah.
whether it's not or not it's in the covenanted buffer. So that
Well,
really doesn't address the zoning issue.
And here's the issue too, and when you do a pilot and you go, this doesn't work, it's ineffective.
They still have the
you
fence
take,
up.
You take it apart. Decisions we make, unless explicitly
They run
concocted
there,
another
there.
way, run with the property.
Yep, they run with the
So
land.
we should be
We
right
have to be
and
very
careful
careful.
about what we're doing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so it sounds like we need some more information. We need some more information with regard to the concept. We're going to wait to hear from the referral from the Conservation Board. We're going to take a look at the corner clearance, but I can tell you, from my perspective, I am very reluctant about a 6-foot fence in the front yard. And I think it opens up a can of worms. And looks like the adjoining properties have 8-foot fence. All right, so where
Okay,
are we
so-
adjourning this to?
Daphne, how much more time would you need? We have 2/6, 2:20, 3/6, 3:20.
Do we have, well, Candace,
To do the referral, so, I would say 2:20 because I have to do referrals to the conservation board. I have not gotten an answer yet.
Okay.
So I want to give them the time to, but I was just,
I'm not
he
there.
might not be here. I
You're
was gonna
not
ask him.
Okay.
I found out that's the winter break, so I figured you may not be here.
No,
So what
Right,
about
so-
3/6
so
and
3/6.
3:20?
I have to be here 3/6, so.
Okay, so
I'll be
3/6.
here 3/6.
Okay, so I move to hold the hearing on this application open to March 6th.
is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, but before we do that, I didn't ask if there was anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter. Right.
Yes.
Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this matter? Okay, all right, thank
Okay.
goodness. Okay.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3 on the agenda, application of 2832 Bittersweet LLC, 28 Bittersweet Lane, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-3-1-40.1. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-83A4 yards to allow a proposed elevated pool patio higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located in the required front yard and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Hello, Susan. How are you?
Good. I have a handout visual,
Okay, you wanted
which I
to give
think
it to Candace?
has to go to.
Yes, it
The
goes
original goes to
Candace.
Candace, and then I take the copies. One original goes to Candace, and then I hand the copies down. It's new. Thank you.
Because we're in
We
conflict.
get surveys, we get photographs.
Let me swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please state your name and address.
Susanna Herman, N Consultants, 1319 North Sea Road, Southampton.
Tell
So
us about this application.
So this property is under the title 28-32 Bittersweet LLC. It is located at 28 Bittersweet Lane in Noyak, which is just north of Noyak Road, not far from the Deerfield intersection. It's all the way at the end of Bittersweet Lane where the road intersects with the bay. So this is on the corner there. Until August, it was 2 lots and contained 2 different single-family residences. They purchased both properties, and the intention all along was to remove those 2 smaller non-conforming houses and build 1 house. So that's all good. The only issue that we have is that the patio, which surrounds the proposed swimming pool, is 37.8 feet from the end of Bittersweet Lane, where the accessory structure setback is 50 feet. The building department says our variance is because we are in the required front yard. We're farther back than the proposed house with the proposed pool patio. If it were at grade, it would not require variance, but because it's elevated,
How high?
it's
1 foot, right?
no,
Over 1 foot.
it's over 1 foot. The maximum height is 3.43 feet above grade. I'm sorry, 3.83 feet above grade. The house is in a flood zone. The house is proposed at elevation 11.5, and the patio is at 11.33. So it's a little bit lower than the proposed house.
Which way does it slope? I was at the site. It looked pretty flat, but there was a slope toward the bulkhead that's sort of eroding by the road. With the road ending.
We do have permits in place to replace the bulkhead, and that's going to happen as soon as most of the groundwork is done. The grade is slightly lower towards Peconic Bay than it is Landwood.
So, I'm sorry, Suzanne, just go through that again. The house is elevated at what?
11.5.
11.5, and the
Right.
patio will be at?
11.33. The grade in that area is between 7.5 natural grade and 7.9.
Okay.
So
It's
that's
above, that's a 3.8
That's a
above
3.8,
natural grade.
3.4 to
Between 3 and 4 feet, roughly.
exactly.
Okay.
At no point is it over 4 feet.
Okay,
What?
so it's never above 4 feet from the ground?
From the ground.
Great.
Okay.
But can you just help me understand, is the request for having it at that height to mitigate flooding risk or aesthetic or something else that I'm not
What are you trying to
understanding?
solve with this, if anything?
The pool has to be 2.5 feet above groundwater at the bottom.
Got it.
So the pool is elevated.
You gotta have the patio level with
And the
pool.
patio has got to be around the pool.
I see.
And
Okay.
the house is up to meet flood
Right,
zone.
so
The pool is just like, the terrace comes off of the back of the house at just slightly lower than the house. We couldn't drop it down to grade because then the pool would be sitting in groundwater. We have, I submitted a bunch of pictures.
just permits for the pool, that's done already, right?
What's that?
The pool's all that.
The pool has a building permit. The house is under construction. The previous house that was here actually had a pool and had a pool 13 feet from the property line and had patio right up to the property line. It was all just, the whole property practically was masonry patio. And there's a mistake on my application. I stated that there was no previous variances. There is a previous variance for the previous pool, which has now been removed. When I went on GIS, it was already gone because when you merge the 2 properties, the history kind of disappears.
So the properties have been merged? Is that what
Yes,
you're
the
saying?
properties have officially been merged
Okay.
back.
Demo's taking place already.
Demos, the house is under construction, but the building department, they approved everything except this patio. So,
And the reason to put the pool in the front of the house as opposed to that big, huge expanse in the back?
well, so we have 2 front yards and we have wetlands.
No, I know,
To
but
the
you've got
left.
property here. This is lots written,
That's a different property.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, so, because that's what because when you go to the
It's
property,
confusing when
it's
you
very
go there.
confusing because there's
Yeah.
a huge, what looks like a
Right.
backyard
Right.
along the front.
So this was 2 lots this way.
Okay.
So there were 2
So it
waterfront.
was this way, it was horizontal.
Did you
instead
get
of
the
vertical.
handout?
Yes.
Okay, so if you look,
Okay.
I included the aerial from before they did the demolition. You can see where the 2 houses were.
Okay,
And
now
they're-
it makes sense, yeah.
And
Yeah, so-
you see the pool 13 feet from the the
Yeah.
property line. You see the houses right up next to the wetlands. So we have wetlands to the north. There's a pond. That's
Right
part
there.
of that
It's right there.
Northampton Colony neighborhood. We have Peconic Bay to the northwest. You have Bittersweet Lane to the southeast. So you've got 2 front yards and wetlands on the 3rd side. This is a separate property over here.
Okay, that's what.
There's like a
got
common
confused.
driveway that
Yeah.
connects. And there was a house there a long time ago. I was looking through old aerial photographs, but it's gone.
So really, as a practical matter, this is the spot
Okay.
for the pool.
This
Okay.
stops.
That's what I
And it
just
did-
wanted to make sure.
The other factors, we had proposed the whole house and pool, and the whole system was proposed closer to the pond to the north. The Conservation Board
Wanted it way.
wanted it pushed back. So we're 90 feet from the wetlands to the north, where 100 feet is required. They gave us a little leeway there, but that pushed us closer to Bittersweet. In addition, I'll point out that there's an extensive amount of hedge that exists along Bittersweet Lane. That's going to be augmented with additional native plantings along the bulkhead. In your handout that I passed out, there's an additional plantings plan. So there'll be additional red cedars here along Bittersweet Lane between the patio and the street. And it's not really a street at that point. It's
Just to ride away down to the water.
it's a right of way for the neighborhood to
Yeah,
walk down to the
everybody walks
water.
in and parks.
It's pretty
Yeah.
there, very pretty.
It's and because it's bulkheaded, the whole property sits a little bit above that walkway. And then you've got the dense hedge and the additional vegetation. And we're gonna be farther back than what was there previously. So I think the visual impact on pedestrian access to the water is gonna be very limited.
Yeah, I
So-
have no problem with it.
Obviously, the closer you are to under a foot, it's less a concern, and the closer you are to 4 foot, it's more of a concern. And I'm a boater, and I know the people kayak and stand-up paddleboard and all that. And I think about what the impact is from the water, and a million people go in and out of the inlet right there, from Cold Spring Pond. So, I mean, I don't know what my colleagues are thinking, but I would feel. I'm a little concerned about the sheer size of what would look like. How you're not putting. You're going to put a patio, which means you have to put in fill, and then you have to backfill, and then you have to put in some other retaining wall of some kind
There's
to hold
actually,
that fill.
there's actually no fill.
Okay.
Because Conservation Board wouldn't allow it.
Okay.
So it's a raised terrace that's open below, but there is a wall around it.
Like
There's just
Okay.
no fill.
lettuce or some sort
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Yeah. So it's not just an empty space you're looking at with,
No, I think what it will look like,
Footings.
it'll look like a wall.
Right.
Around
And
the
that's
terrace.
Are you asking this because of the concern of how it will appear from the water?
yeah, just a straight
If
wall.
you're on the
Just the
water.
appearance of a straight wall that's as high as 3 or 4 feet, and the whole point of not having a deck in the front yard technically is not to look at that, right? So, if it could be stepped down so it didn't have the appearance of being.
Well, from the water, it's actually 60 or 56 feet from the bulkhead.
Okay,
So
but the view will be clearly unobstructed, right? I'm just trying to mitigate what you're trying to do.
yeah, I see your point, but
I don't have.
it's a suggestion for the applicant. I'm not really, I'm not wedded to that suggestion
Yeah.
requirement
Yeah.
as a it's an observation. I mean, maybe something that the applicant would want to consider, but
I mean, it's a pretty the part that's seaward of the pool is pretty minimal. It's only like 4 feet on the outside, got about 10 feet on one side, which is really their only spot for
The rest is on the
the
side.
sun. They're right, yeah.
And it has to be level with the pool.
It has to be level with the pool. We really can't drop the pool because of the separation to groundwater.
Right.
So
How deep is the pool?
the pool is 20 by 38.
How deep?
I'd have to look. We had to provide a cross section.
No, I don't need it for today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a 12-foot deep pool. That might be.
I don't think it's.
Again, it's a joke, right?
Yeah,
I'm
no.
just
I mean, groundwater's
trying to
only
figure out how to mitigate this.
groundwater's only
I'm okay with it.
4 feet below the surface. So with the pool at elevation 10,
I mean, it sounds to me like the real challenges, and again, not an engineer, but the real challenges are engineering challenges in terms of this thing having to be above groundwater at the right level, and so, whatever mitigation is appropriate to make the view from the water would be lovely, but I don't feel so strongly about that.
and we do have plantings. We have 25 feet of plantings between the bulkhead landward, but that's grasses for that's mostly grasses.
Susanna, do we have a copy of the Conservation Board
Yes,
resolution?
you should.
Does anybody have it?
It should have been submitted in the application. Oh, maybe it wasn't. We can submit that. That's been approved. We have a DEC permit and obviously health department permit as well.
I mean, we're gonna refer it to them, but
And Marty's
it'd be
okay
nice,
with all
it'd be
this,
nice to
right?
have
Yes, and I gave you a copy of the approved revegetation plan, which shows the buffer. I mean, it's a very extensive buffer. Most of the north half of the property, 25 feet along the bulkhead, and the additional plantings along Bittersweet Lane. It's a pretty extensive buffer.
The plantings that are along Bittersweet now are staying.
Yes. Yes. They're either staying or they're being replaced by the one closest, right now the hedge goes all the way from the driveway all the way to the bay. Part of that will be replaced by natives because hedges aren't typically allowed in the buffer area. So that'll be a mix of red cedars, as well as beach palm and some other native bushes. So it'll be well screened. It's in their interest as homeowners to not have people looking at them
In the pool.
while they walk down to the water.
Exactly.
I'm okay.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on the application of 2832 Bittersweet? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, Julie?
Yes, so I think, you have some input from a member of the board to take into account, but I think we ought to close the public hearing and leave it open for written submissions until February 7, with a decision slated for February 20.
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Maceoni?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
All right.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Number 4 on the agenda, the application of John Egan, 4 Hampton Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-320-2-18. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed swimming pool. Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C, yards, to allow the swimming pool to be located within the required side yard for the principal building and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction?
No.
Okay, let me swear. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name and address.
Sure. Linda Cabot, 16A Scrub Oak Road, Quogue, New York. And I'm representing the applicant, John Egan, for 4 Hampton Harbor Road in Hampton Bays.
So tell us about this application.
Okay, thank you. So this is pretty straightforward. The location is in the Ram Pasture community in Hampton Bays. The current zoning is R40. The lot size is 16,313 square feet. That is 0.3745 of an acre. This is a corner lot, so it's burdened with 2 front yards. We're seeking common and customary relief for a non-conforming lot that is a described property in order to allow a swimming pool, 16 by 32 size, and place that into the side and rear yard. The relief we're seeking is from 330-76D, placement of accessory structures, specifically the swimming pool, and 330-83C, yard, in order to allow the pool to be within the required side yard. We're asking for you to apply the standards of 330-115D5 for accessory structure setbacks for residential properties to allow 10 feet from the side and the rear yard for the pool placement. There is a prior variance on this property, and it had to do with an attached garage. Again, this property is a corner lot and it's burdened with 2 front yards. The applicant did receive a letter of support from the immediate neighbor that was submitted to the application file back in October, and they have no objection. We also note that the building department, when they do their required letter of denial, noted their comments that the subject property is considered described property, and as such, the proposed swimming pool conforms to accessories side and rear yard setbacks pursuant to Town Code 330-115D5. If there's any questions of the board?
Helen, this is your application. Do you want to start us off on this?
I think Linda has done a very adequate job of presenting the case.
I agree, Helen.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any? So basically what we are approving is allowing the pool to be in the side yard.
And in the rear yard,
And
and not at 20 feet, at 10 feet.
Right.
Now, the neighbor who wrote the letter,
Mhm.
Mr. DeServo, does he live here?
Yes, he lives on that side.
Okay,
The
and this property that's fully vegetated
It's
is
vacant.
vacant.
It already has a variance granted by a prior zoning board to allow similar relief.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, that's all I have.
But just to clarify, it's only advertised for it to be in the required side yard. It doesn't need 20-foot setbacks, it needs 10 because it's described property.
Right.
And it's, being in the required rear is fine. It's
Yes,
just that it's
the
within the
rear is
required side. It's because the house
Right.
is so long and narrow.
If you look at the survey, it's both the side and the rear yard. Make sure, even if the notice might not have been correct, the application is correct. It is both the side and the rear yard 10 feet. We're not going to be 20 feet from the rear yard line. It's a quarter lot, so this front door faces Hampton Harbor Road, and the other corner is
Right.
Hampton Harbor Lane.
Right.
So opposite the front door is the rear yard. Next to the vacant lot is that side yard. I need 10 feet on each side. Okay, just like the survey laid out.
Okay.
I don't know why you think you need 20 feet.
No, we need 10.
Okay, I think you just said twice you needed 20.
Misspoke then. No,
Okay.
we're at, it currently, our 40 says 20. We're asking to go to 10
In the rear.
in the rear and the side.
Correct, but I believe that the building department has noted that you get different setbacks because it's pursuant to 331-15D5. So I think the building
It's
department
10.
said,
It's 10 on each side for 15
Right, so
D5.
So what they're saying is basically you don't need a variance.
You don't need the relief.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's not that you can't do it, it's that you don't need the variance, so
Okay.
don't look ridiculous and
If
say-
it wasn't described property, I wouldn't need a variance at all. I'd be straight to the building department with the single and separate.
Yeah,
So 2 streets over in
No,
Rampasture, they don't
Let's not
need
even go
this.
there.
That's not true either.
Okay, let's not go there. So the only variance you need is to allow this swimming pool to be in the side yard.
Okay,
That's it.
okay.
Okay.
For which nobody's necessarily apparently having a
Nobody's-
problem.
Correct.
Nobody's
No.
having a problem with that, at least from this board.
Sure.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application of 4 Hampton Harbor Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 4 Hampton Harbor Road? Okay, Helen, this is yours.
I want to just mention, in terms of Linda's presentation, I want to emphasize that really all we need to discuss is the placement, because of the special provision, as said, to be a described property gives her certain benefits that you otherwise wouldn't get in terms of this number or that number. So it's the placement, Linda, and perhaps I should have said that when I said your presentation covered everything. So I'd just like to clarify that. And then at this point, I think we can close the public hearing, leave it open for written submissions to February 7th with a decision on February 20th.
Second.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Ms. Leonard? Mr.
Aye.
Leonard? Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank
you very
you.
much,
Thank you.
Linda.
Okay, good evening.
Number 5 on the agenda, the application of Michael and Rosa Federico, 95 Inlet Road West, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-176-1-1. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. Section 330-84D, Pyramid Law for a sky plane encroachment of 2,203.48 cubic feet, 1,702.75 cubic feet on the east, and 500.73 cubic feet on the south, and 330-83A4 yards to allow a proposed elevated paver patio higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located in the required front yard, and any other release necessary.
The board has jurisdiction.
Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please state your name individually and your addresses.
Gina Rigdon, DKR Shores, agent for Michael and Rosa Federico. This is the owner.
Michael Federico, 95 Inlet Road West, Hampton Beach.
Okay, Gina, tell us about this application.
So let's start with the existing house is to be demolished. The existing house has had relief from this board previously for a garage on the southeast side of the property, located, and actually the relief was granted for 5 feet. It was built at 3.9, and the previous owner was Eddie Manetti, 95 Inlet Road LLC, had finished the garage. So I just want to get that out there illegally, and we were in turmoil, and then so he hence basically just sold the property. So this is the new owner. The new owner wants to bring everything into compliance, wants to make neighbors very happy, and we've been working very, very hard to come up with a plan. He had very specific directions. So the house right now, the cottage, old seasonal cottage, pre-existing non-conforming lot, highly constrained in an R10. So I have 3 front yards, actually. So I have the road, which is really the rear, which is the road side. And then I have the side, which is really a road. And then I have the water, which is the front. So the rear is the road. I have one side, highly constrained. And so we're going to demolish the property, the house on the property, the garage that is partially illegal right now. And
To
so
be demolished.
To be demolished, yes. So the whole goal was to enhance the setbacks and make them more than what they are right now. So the existing cottage is only 16.2 feet to the road. The garage is at 3.9 built.
All structures are gonna be demolished?
Yeah, everything's coming down. We have a highly constrained environmental setbacks. We have a buffer. We can't go closer to the water. And I want to put it out there. Number 2, big thing. The proposed sanitary system you see on the survey is actually located closer to the water that was denied by the health department. We're going to be relocating it. New plans are in the works, new surveys. It's going to be going under the driveway and in the front yard to the road.
The new IA.
Yes. New IA, alternative wastewater treatment system, benefits and brownie points for, the environment. This actually has an approval from Marty. But the sanitary system was wrong on that approval. I actually copied you with that permit, but the sanitary system's wrong. But the project itself, he had no problem with. So we're good on lot coverage. We're good on, we don't even need setback relief because we had a continuance. Not only that, but we had relief under Chapter 8, 330A3K. For 50% relief because it's a waterfront lot. So the architect, who's actually here for very specific questions in the back in the audience, worked really, really hard on this and came up with a good plan. It's a contemporary house, has a flat roof. The square footage is, I had him give me the whole breakdown because it wasn't actually on. So the total area of the house, including the first and second floor and the mezzanine, is 4,566.37 square feet. So the first floor is 2,070, a little just shy over 2,000, so 2,072. Second floor is above the footprint of the first floor, is 2,088. Then there's a rooftop mezzanine, which encompasses an elevator as well, is 405 square feet. So not including the garage. That was including the garage, by the way. So not including the garage, only the first floor, second floor, and rooftop mezzanine is 4,112.10 square feet.
I'm sorry, give me that number again.
It is 4,112.10.
All right, and that's excluding the garage.
That's excluding the garage, but the rooftop isn't included in living area. So it's really 2,072.59 and 2,088.50. So that's the habitable area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a little over 4,000 square feet. But it has a modest 4 bedrooms. It's well planned and laid out. There's an elevator that goes up to all levels because my client has some medical issues and needs an elevator.
What are the ceiling heights?
So
For
the
each of the
ceiling
floors?
height on the first floor is at 10. And then the second floor is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 8.5 or was it 9? I know I wrote it down. All right, so I'm sorry, it's 8.10. So it's 8.10 for the second floor where the bedrooms are, and the first floor, which is kind of an open concept living, is 10.
Why is the first floor 10?
Hence,
Is there a specific reason?
open concept living, that is the family area. He has a large family, 4 kids, a dad, extended family. He also runs a pretty successful company and is a benefit to the community as well. He works out of the house as well, hence the office on the second floor, tiny office on the second floor. So he can have some quiet time area where he can work. He has a moving company.
But basically the 10 feet is a design issue.
It's a design. The 10 feet's a design, but we're well under that ridge height, that 32 that we're allowed, and we're well under it. So it's not, the ceiling isn't pushing
but
the ceiling up.
The 10 feet on the
Yeah.
ground floor does contribute to the pyramid relief. That's the only reason.
I understand.
What's the total pyramid relief?
So actually, I'm glad you brought that up because it
You added
wasn't,
it all up.
it wasn't advertised, typed out correctly. So I have a little tiny version here. So it total is 20, It was advertised as 23.
2203.
2203. Thank you. I can see this. It is actually, if you add up all the numbers, because there's a little tiny corner of the roof that wasn't in this calculation, is 2792.62.
So you missed that 589.14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's well under,
What's the total,
you
27?
know, what's reasonable.
2792.
And the only other property we have that could be comparable to this is that house that went up on Boathouse not long ago. That had the benefit of this relief from the board. And then that particular application was granted 2990. So it's under that. It's under anything that's comparable that this board has granted relief.
Do you know when
That's
that
two-
other
two-
relief was granted?
2015 is too old.
When that other relief was granted?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hold on one second. The client actually got this for me. July 6th, 2023. So it is actually a very similar house. It's design-wise. Actually, I think the architect is the same. Did Peter design that
No,
house on both
no, he's
houses? Okay. But it's a very similar design. It's under what this board has rented. And we have had a lot of conversations with the neighbors. The one most affected, which is if you're looking out the water, is the house to the right. There's a tiny, tiny cottage. That is, the house is located at 11.3. That's the garage. So basically the house, it'll be like a drive-in garage that's attached to the house. And so that's 11.3 from that side of the house. No, that's 12.8. We're going with the 11.3 because that's the lower number.
Well, it kind of goes like, right,
Yeah.
it gets a little bigger as you.
But he's allowed 10. We didn't even ask 10. So, you know,
So that's a side yard.
that's a side yard.
That's not the rear yard. The rear yard is on Inlet Road.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and he's allowed 10 as far as, you know, relief. And we
For
were at.
principal structure.
Yeah,
Correct.
wait, say that again, because that was my question. How is
So
it
it's
that you have an
11.3.
11.3 setback?
We have an 11.3 setback.
That's a
on the
side yard setback?
yard. Right. So it's.
For principal?
It's a principal
It's a
because it's built
principal.
into the house.
Right.
I
So-
can't remember offhand, but I don't think.
So
I think it was
330 like 5
330-83K, and the
Yes.
zoning is 20-foot side yard setback for a principal, so we're actually allowed 10.
I'm
So
sorry,
it's
go ahead.
50%. So it's 50% relief. Am I not correct?
I don't know.
So
And why are you
chapter
claiming that-
330-83K is
Right.
the relief under the wetlands code, the zoning
Okay.
for wetland
50%
properties.
because of the wetlands.
Right.
Okay.
So
that
we're
has
actually-
your all front, side, and rear?
Only
Okay.
principal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not even doing, we
Okay.
could have asked
Gotta
more,
get
and
it.
we didn't. I mean, could have asked a lot more. The house could be at 16 feet from the road, and we didn't.
You would have had a lot more pyramid issues.
Yeah.
No, that's the issue.
That too.
Right? I mean,
But, you know, it's just usable space. It's just designed properly.
Where is the most impact for the pyramid?
So it's on facing that where the side yard is 11.3, obviously. So it's
right
facing
on-
that.
Right by the neighbor.
Exactly. So we've had a lot of conversation. I have actually emailed them. We have actually gone down to what is the siding and color going to be of the house. And they're on Zoom right now. So everything we possibly could have asked. Where's the HVAC? It's on the opposite side of the house, so it won't cause noise. They're a little concerned about the pool because the pool equipment is right there, but it's within the 10-foot minimum. I mean, we could offer to put, you know, a 6-foot fence in that little tiny section that's, you know, 20 feet from the road and then 50 feet from, because Marty won't allow fences. So we could do a little fence if it makes them happy. There's already privets there. They're mature, so there's already screening. But if the neighbor really wants it, I have no problem, you know, putting a little section of 40 or 50 foot section of fence. Not a problem.
so I went to the neighborhood. We have an application down the street pending. Well, you know, it's pretty hard to miss. We're dealing with a neighborhood issue, right?
Right.
Many houses are barely 15 feet tall at their peak, their cottages. And the concern I have is you know, I get the side yard setback issues. In some cases, they're 5 and 6 feet. That's a character of the neighborhood. That's less the concern here. It's the pyramid relief and the height. You're within the height, but the pyramid relief is the issue I have concerns about. And you know, in the first decision that was granted in 2014, the prior ZBA at the time said you can have the garage, provided that there's no livable space above the garage.
Right.
By merging the garage now with the house, that prior determination appears to be proposed to be vaporized. So I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I think you need to bring the mass down and compress. Well, let me say it differently. Invest more creativity in requesting less pyramid relief. And I think if you can focus on that, the other issues can be, likely resolved in a less problematic way.
You brought up something really interesting because that actually was a potential plan when the former owner owned the house, is if you connected the garage to the house, then proof exactly that problem vaporizes. I told the client he actually could do that, and he said no. He said, I don't want to be that close. I can't even walk over there.
No, it's very
And the
close
neighbor
to-
is like, no.
The neighbor is like right there.
The neighbor is right there, and the
Literally
neighbor
right
wasn't happy to begin with about what Eddie did.
Of course.
So he said, I want to make the neighbor happy, and I want to move the house away. And I said, you're allowed to go to 10. He said, let's do more.
Okay.
So
So I think what Kevin is suggesting is there any possible movement on the ceiling heights? This is an area where people are coming in and asking for a lot of relief. Their lots are different. I can distinguish the lot from yours because they're usually very long and very narrow. Yours is a little bit different. But a 10-foot ceiling in the first floor.
And the mezzanine, it's sort of like cut off at the top of the paper.
yeah.
So it's
Well,
it's so that's always an issue too, because now it's like, what else is up at the top floor?
Helen, did you have something you wanted to say?
In fact, when Mr. Leonard asked her about the need for the 10-foot ceiling, she failed to respond. I mean, she just said, "Oh, there's 4 children."
design issue.
Well, the children and how many people are in the house? Everybody has people coming into the house. That is not an accurate answer for me in response to Mr. Leonard's question. And I certainly feel with the excessive amount of pyramid relief that you are asking for, that you definitely need to make an adjustment in those ceiling heights. I mean, 10 feet for the first floor and almost 9 feet for the second floor, and then come to us and ask us for 2,792 feet. That's not acceptable to me. I don't know how other board members feel. So I certainly agree both with Mr. Leonard's concern and, of course, with Mr. McDonald's concern.
If I may
Thank you,
say,
Helen.
most homes that are built today are built at 10 feet. It's a common practice.
It's not the issue before us.
Yeah, that very well may be, but we're dealing with, a situation where you've got a small piece of property, building a tall house. And, there is a lot of concern in that area about, the height and the pyramid relief being requested. So, yes, if you were in the middle of nowhere and you were building a house, yeah, perfectly fine. But
We were very mindful of that. That's why we have a flat roof versus a
Yeah,
all
no,
kinds of peaks,
I
you know,
appreciate
to
the
make it
fact,
work.
I think you really are making an enormous effort to do the right thing here. So we're asking you, is there a creative way to look at some reduction in the cubic footage that you're asking for? I mean, is that a
I'd love to hear
fair?
comments from the rest
Yeah.
of the
Are you
board
in
Yes.
flood?
too,
Is this
and
flood
the
zone?
neighbors. I'm sorry.
Is this in a flood zone?
No.
So
It
you
is
don't need to be-
not actually.
Yeah. I mean,
What's next?
the way I'm looking at this is, I asked the question and you did respond to it. You said it's a design element.
Right.
And
Yeah.
The issues with regard to needing it for the number of people in the family, those are horizontal issues. Those are not vertical issues, as far as I'm concerned. So you know, I do think 10 feet on the first floor is excessive. You know, we've got 8 feet 10 inches on the second floor as well. You know, I would like to see the total pyramid relief be brought down.
I share the concern.
Yeah, particularly since we added another 500 today.
So-
Right.
Another
So you hear,
589.
They were in it, they were
I
in
know,
the.
Yeah.
and I
It was
asked
the
them up,
plans
but
of-
it was, you know, I saw that, but.
you're hearing the same message, different ways,
Got it.
with
Okay,
different levels of
understand.
emphasis.
Would we know
and-
if we went to 9 on the first and 8 on the second? Do we know how much that would bring it down?
You know what? I'm a play devil's advocate kind of person, and they're already working on Plan B. Honestly,
Good, well then, we
So,
would like to see a plan B.
I
consideration.
think, well, the architect's here to answer some questions. We don't have exactly those numbers, but
I didn't want to
a
defer.
combination of maybe.
I have to swear
I'm
you
not
in if you're
fine.
gonna say anything.
Peter Nesfield.
Okay, but let me swear you in first.
I'm sorry.
You swear to tell
Sit
the
down, be
truth.
comfortable.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
swear
yeah.
to tell the truth, the whole
Swear.
truth, nothing but the truth. Okay, please state your name.
Peter Nesfield, 1527 Franklin Avenue, Mineola, New York, 11501.
Peter, can you just confirm the spelling of the last name?
Yes, Nesfield.
Okay, thanks.
We've been looking, it's a complex problem because you have cubic footage. I was trying to figure out what the board really wanted. Was it the cubic footage reduction, or was it the setback reductions, or both, or a modification of both? So it's been something that's been played around with. Again, we try to be conscious of what was going on, and the number at the cubic footage over on another project that we did around the corner was more, but that, I guess it was a different board construction, a different time. You guys are looking at it from your purview, not 19, whatever it was. So 2025, we're in 2025 and not 2015. So that's fine. So it's just a matter of sitting down with Michael and going through where we adjust to allow some concession. It comes down to, I mean, you said 9 and 8. I don't know
I'm
if
just
that's-
curious how much that would reduce
I know.
the pyramid.
Yeah, I don't. We can offer an idea that I don't. What I don't think we want to just negotiate it here in front of you.
No.
Yeah, and you
We want to
should,
come up with an idea ourselves.
Yes,
and-
absolutely.
so I would encourage you, just because sometimes somebody's one suggestion is interpreted by some people as all you have to do.
Yep.
You need to do more than just drop the ceiling heights. You need to get the pyramid request lower and the mass of the building lower, because you're in a neighborhood with everybody's 5 or 10 feet away,
Yep.
and the houses are pretty small, most of them still. And when you're asking for the second floor and the mezzanine area, all of a sudden mass and size matters, right? And that's the concern. And that's what we hear about, and that's what we have to think about with every other property coming in asking for the same thing.
It's the 6 foot
Okay,
fence.
so if I may ask,
Yes.
is the focus the 10-foot ceiling or the cubic foot of variance we're requesting?
Well, the 10-foot ceiling
With-
affects
I-
the cubic feet
I
of pyramid
understand,
relief.
I understand,
And
but which
it
one,
pushes you out of.
Both.
but which one?
I don't care about the 10-foot ceiling.
It's the
pyramid
overall
relief
picture.
number. So
Okay,
however that
so
Yeah,
then-
however
so
you
then
top,
if we can-
if you just chop the top off and said that we fit it all, hooray.
The mezzanine isn't. Oh, the part of the mezzanine is in the relief.
Right.
It's the
Yeah,
minor.
part of the mezzanine isn't. If you
Okay, so then
shifted the
our goal is
mezzanine
to reduce the
or
the total number of pyramid.
right, not so much concern with the 10. I understand
Right,
that
I
the
mean,
10
the 10
foot
feet is
would
one-
drop it, but there may be other ways.
It's one way to do it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
correct.
If you can do it another way and come back and say, I heard you, we did it this other magical way,
But-
yeah.
Right.
happy to look at.
From my point of view, it's like people don't build houses at 10 feet. Maybe back in the day, they did 8 feet. And that's like you coming to me and saying, well, I want a 1-car garage. Why do you want to have 2? It's the same,
Yeah,
you know,
it's not
analogy.
really about the 10 feet per se.
It's the
It's
total.
about the overall
We're
total
getting,
picture.
we're looking at it and we're
You-
saying,
So-
with your request at this size, having a 10-foot ceiling is problematic. If you can shrink the property, take the mezzanine, whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
but come back with
Shift
some
Right,
ideas.
but if we're able to come
somewhere.
back with a reduction and still have
Which-
a 10 foot on the first floor.
Which is
If
why
it
I
was a
said,
good-
don't just
if-
fixate on the two
Yeah,
things you
yeah.
heard.
But I don't wanna come back and like try to work
Everybody
things
yells
out
at
and then
you
now
for
I'm
a
getting,
10-foot ceiling.
everybody's
You
back
can-
on the
well,
10-foot ceilings.
I think we would like to see not an insignificant amount of reduction. So if you come back and it reduces it by 100 because
That would
100
be
cubic-
insulting,
Right.
I wouldn't do
Okay,
that.
Right.
okay,
That
so
would be insulting. And
that's,
a
you
waste of everybody's
understand,
time.
you understand where we're coming from.
Correct.
If you came back and you said, I figured this out, we shifted the house 1 foot, we shifted the mezzanine over, and we reduced the ceiling by 6 inches.
Yeah.
And if it brought the number down, they'd be okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a creativity
No, we were just
thing
giving
between
examples
you
of
guys.
things that we
That
were
makes
identifying
sense
in the
to your
plans.
needs.
It comes down to business and negotiation. Is what's going to insult you is that I don't know if it's 10%, if it's 20%. That's all.
We don't give
I
numbers.
don't
Just
know.
they
This
can't give
doesn't
a
insult me,
number,
but we have
just down.
multiple board members, so
Yeah.
the project now doesn't insult me.
Okay.
I'll tell you in private what I think you should get down to.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not negotiating here at the
Yeah.
table.
No, it's not.
We're
It's not.
just, we're just saying to you, be creative. I think that came through.
When-
And
when-
so, all right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Be
Yeah.
more creative.
No, I'd like to see if there's
I
anybody.
just had
in
one
the-
question for this amendment. When you're saying pyramid, you're talking about cubic footage, right?
Yes,
Yes.
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 Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 95 Inlet Road West? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 95 Inlet Road West?
We have one person on Zoom.
Okay.
Susan, one word I might like to add in terms of the changing the number of the encroachment. I'd like
Okay,
to
let's
think-
hear from the Zoom person, Helen, and we'll reserve you for after that.
Okay, thank you. I'm ready.
Is this your neighbor?
It's one of them, yeah.
Yes. It's a discussion.
Brother, sister, or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff is the brother-in-law.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we
Yes.
can't see you though.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeff Taylor.
Can we see you? Can you put your video?
Yeah, I can start my video. Yep,
Yes,
2.5
please.
minutes.
Have to stand up.
Here I go.
Okay, hi.
Hi,
There you
I need to swear you in unless you're attorneys.
Sure. I'm an attorney.
All right, are you an attorney?
No, you
All
have to
right, you
swear.
have to swear.
Go
in.
ahead.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Jeff Taylor. I reside at 150 Middlesex Road in Darien, Connecticut.
Okay.
I'm here representing my wife and her brother, William O'Keefe. My wife is Allison Taylor. Allison, along with William, own the property at 91 Inlet Road West. And as you noted before, 91 is the adjacent property on the east side of 95 Inlet Road West. We received the notice for this meeting last week on January 7th, and since that time, we've been receiving supporting documentation. And everybody's been very helpful, and we've been getting answers to our queries over the last several days. But, we'd like a little bit more time to digest and come back, as we've just had really a few days to look at it. The east side of the proposed building that would face our property would be a 24-high box structure. And with about a separation of about 17 feet between the houses would be very imposing on our single-story house, as you've already noted. These are small pieces of property, and it's important to maintain as much spacing as possible to maintain the visual enjoyment, privacy, view, airflow, and light to minimize the impact and maintain property values. The proposed house impacts our view of the bay from the windows on the west side of our house. Increasing the current proposed separation between the houses by shifting the proposed house as much as possible to the west, away from the east property line, would help to reduce the impact on our property and really be beneficial to us and the Federicos as well. So it's really beneficial to both parties to have that separation and privacy. No one wants to be on top of each other. With these are being small pieces of property, I think it's very important that you keep the spacing and the character of the neighborhood. And I think that you could really, move the house more towards the center of property and better utilize the property on the west side of the house. That would help to address our concerns. And I think as it's been noted, we've been in conversation with Mike, and the people are supporting him, and they seem to receptive to listening and hearing our concerns. So we look forward to working with them and the zoning board to address our concerns with the spacing between the houses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So are you proposing that the house be shifted closer to North Beach Road?
It would be, I'm not
Okay.
sure.
And that's where you originally had the septic system, the new septic
Yes,
system, which you
where they
cannot
originally
do.
had the septic.
That's correct.
Right.
So yes,
And that's no longer going to be
Yeah,
where the septic
and so
system
that's
is,
no
is that
longer
correct?
there, and so there's more property towards that direction. Understand that it becomes more problematic because obviously that has less depth over there. So, but any flexibility that can be given to, better utilizing the space, side to side rather than, locating as close as us to kind of, use the property so you can get some better spacing in the properties.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. I went out to the property to see it, and the house and property that you're referring to is literally, seems to me like right on the property line.
yeah, yes.
I mean, it's
and
old,
that is
and it's been
yeah.
there forever, but it's literally right on the property line, which makes it,
Yeah, that's, and it's,
which
as Mike
makes it
noted,
yeah,
you want to fix that because,
yeah.
it's, you can't even, if he needs to fix a window, he's got to come over on our property.
Yeah, no, I know. It's very, very, and so it's difficult, given the constraints of that, to deal with his property as well. So thank you very much for your comments. I'm sure you're aware of what they are, and you're going to be taking a look at that. Okay, anything
Thank
else?
Thank you.
Okay. Helen, you wanted to say something.
I just, when we were just, the word that receives the number, they were asking to get a number from us, and we don't give a number, but I could say in my view that I would like to use the word substantial improvement in the number. And whatever they're going to come up with, it's for us to view it and see if it's acceptable. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And I would say not insignificant, as opposed to
So how much time would you need?
We need the soonest meeting you can grant us.
I'm sorry?
We need
As
the-
soon as possible.
we don't
He's
need
really
any
quick.
time.
February
We'll
This is
probably have
awesome
this figured out by the
architect.
time we walk outside.
February
actually,
6th?
in the parking garage, yeah. Parking
February
lot.
6th is that too
February
soon?
6th, that's the next date.
Is that our next date?
February 6th, February
We
20th.
have room, I don't.
February
February
6th
6th
is
is
fine. February
Okay.
6th is fine.
I'm sorry, what did we decide?
6.
Hold open.
6th? Okay, February 6th. So I'm going to make a motion. We're going to adjourn this until the meeting of
One last
February.
question, how many votes do I need for?
4.
Majority, 4. We have a 7-person board, you need 4.
We're
One
missing
is
one
out.
person.
Okay, one's
One's
gone.
out.
Yeah,
But he
well,
can watch this.
he'll be back.
He'll
He'll
be
be back.
He'll
He'll
be
be
here for the next meeting.
Okay.
I will be on Zoom,
Okay.
not here
All
in
right,
person.
let's just go with the motion,
Wait,
please.
I just have a question.
Yeah,
Could you have those plans to me by next Friday? Because I have to have time to get them to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The one thing we cannot do is have to look at them at the
As we get
meeting.
Yeah.
I'll try to, I'm gonna make the agreement.
All right, well, if
Okay.
not, we can always extend,
Yeah,
we can
postpone.
always postpone to
Okay.
the following.
I'm okay with that.
So-
Okay, good.
You already made the motion, I'll second it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And to refresh anybody's mind, we're suggesting to adjourn to the meeting of the
February 6th.
2nd for a continuation of the hearing.
February
February
6th.
6th.
I'm sorry, 6th.
6.
Okay, and,
Yes.
and, all right,
I
Mr.
seconded.
McDonald,
Thank you.
Yes, aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Mastonio,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
I wonder if that date is too soon.
If
Well,
it
he'll-
is,
he'll
it's
get
up
the
to them.
plans.
They're willing to
No,
try.
It's absolutely
They'll
not.
get the plan.
All right, did you vote, Helen?
I'll vote aye, but I would like to discuss whether we could have a later date.
Okay.
I have it
If the
adjourned.
applicant is ready and willing to come back on that date,
We'll
you
be
have
ready.
that date, because I vote aye. Okay.
We'll be.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be ready.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Number 6 on the agenda, application of Eric Grave and Carola M. Grave,
9 Rebadam Lane, Shinnecock Hills, or Rebottom Lane, Shinnecock Hills. Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-211-4-2. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed detached garage on a non-conforming lot. Section 330-6, General Regulations, that references Section 330-11, Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal rear yard setback from 30 feet to 26.4 feet, and total lot coverage from 20 feet to 20% to 21.2%, and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction, and I just wanted to note for the record, there was some confusion about one of the mailers, but the person we were concerned with actually reached out to Candace, so they were notified.
Perfect.
So the board has jurisdiction.
Okay.
Great.
Can I swear you in? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name and address.
Yeah, I'm David Radigan. This is my wife Barbara. Our address is 33 Montauk Highway in Quogue. And we're acting agents for the homeowners.
Okay. So do you want to tell us about this application?
Well, first, let me, I don't know the other board members. You're familiar, Katie's familiar. I am profoundly
Oh, you know
deaf.
me. Come
I can
on.
read lips. I have an app that will give me your text, but occasionally I'll have to ask you to repeat yourself.
That's fine.
And Barbara's going to be my ears.
She's the best.
Yeah, she
As
is.
I recall.
No, you've been before.
Good evening, and glad to meet you at this point, the newbies. We're representing Peggy and Eric Grave. They own a home at 9 Rebadam in Shinnecock Hills. This home is about 1,000 square feet with a 200 square foot garage attached. Mr. Grave, or Eric, I'm going to call him Eric, the owner, helped his father build this house way back in the late 40s and early 50s. It's somewhat of a family heirloom. It's been in the family from day one. It just sits on a small, tiny 8,600 square foot lot. The Graves at this point have decided to sell their Hampton Bays home, improve this house, and move there permanently. Up to this point, it's been used as a family retreat, friends, relatives, basically just in the summer. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit, very moderate, very humble. Their plan is to lift the house in place and add a 2-car garage, 22 by 22. At this point, the relief that we're looking for is extremely light. It's approved by this board time and time again. There is no pyramid involved because we're keeping it as a single floor. Let me get my glasses here. So the current plan is to keep the existing 1,000 square feet, take the 200 square foot area of garage, make that habitable space, add a second bathroom, and add a 22 by 22 garage to the forward portion of the house, and with a sizable attic area, all non-habitable space.
How much are you lifting the house?
The house has a first floor elevation of 7 feet. We're lifting the first floor elevation to 13 feet to meet with FEMA regs.
And the garage is going to be at the ground level, right?
The garage is ground level. It's not habitable space, so the regulations with FEMA, they're a little later.
Okay.
So as I understand it, the existing garage is going to be converted to habitable space.
Habitable
and
space.
Lifted with the house.
Everything is going to be lifted.
And then a new garage is going to be at ground level.
Yes.
Okay.
Forward of the existing location.
Right. Okay.
You should have elevations of what we're looking at. It fits the area beautifully. There are no issues as it being overbuilt or taking too much space on the property. We are looking for 21.2 percent on lot coverage, which only, right now it's 20 and change, it's minimal. We need some side yard relief, we need front yard relief. The thing about the front yard is that we're looking for 26 feet 4 inches where 30 feet is required. But the street pavement is so far set back from the house, you don't get a visual as though we're encroaching. If you took that space that's owned by the town itself, you probably have a 52 foot side or front yard. So visually, it won't really look as though, oh, we've only got a 26 foot 4 inch front yard. So it's not going to really be a detriment to anybody in the area. And I think this kind of relief and this amount of relief has been presented to the board and granted in the past. So.
Okay, Mr. Mastonio is going to take over for John Repan, who is not here. So do you want to start off on the?
I think it's minimal relief you're requesting. Personally, don't have a problem with it, but obviously we have other board members and if anybody's in the public, I think it's fine. Minimal relief in my view.
He's saying he sees it, he's agreeing with it, he says it's just minimal relief, he said.
To do what?
He's just stating that his view is it's minimal relief, and he feels okay with that.
Okay, but Mr. Leonard has some questions.
Okay.
So I see that you're requesting side yard relief on the north from 13 feet 7 inches to 11 feet 7 inches.
Yes.
But there's also a request for side yard relief from 25 feet to 24.5 feet. And I'm wondering where that is because I don't see it on your survey.
What are you reading from?
Where are you?
I'm reading from his application.
No, but
I'm looking at the
yeah,
survey.
just look at the
survey.
write-up. Because sometimes people include
the
things
write-up
in their application that the building department says they don't
30
need.
to 26.4 and then 20 to 21.2.
No, I understand that, but he just testified that he's requesting side yard relief. So under any other relief necessary, I'm wondering what he's talking about. And in his application, he identifies side yard relief. So I'd like to just, do you need it? Do you not need it? What are we doing?
Yeah, well, on the south side, there is an existing deck that's going to go away. That would have established the side yard. I think the side yard was like 9 feet. The side yard now on that side is going to be, I think, 12 feet 8 inches. So if you combine that with the relief that we're looking for, it's under the 25.
That's the, oh, I see.
It's
That's
under the 25 feet total side yard by a half a foot.
So that's not a necessary variance relief that we need to grant.
Right.
So the only thing that we're actually looking at is the rear yard setback of 26.4 from 30 and the lot coverage of 21%.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I was addressing.
No.
Now I
I'm glad
feel
you clarified.
comfortable with that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's what I was
sometimes, like they say, you put things in the application, you realize you don't really need to.
And
So,
then you
Yeah.
ask and you
yeah,
receive.
yeah. Okay. Kevin.
So I went around the neighborhood. It looked like there's a lot of houses similar to the house you're talking about and presenting here
Yeah.
today. Is there a way to pull the garage back a little further toward the house? And the reason I'm asking is, the protrusion. From what I remember driving through, looks a little more pronounced than the existing situation in the neighborhood, and I'm a little
Yeah.
concerned about that.
There's always that possibility and that option. But as I presented before, that 26-foot setback, where 30 is normal, if you look at the pavement of the road,
Right.
you have a tremendous amount of land between the pavement and the property line.
Okay.
So visually, this is not something that should upset the neighbors or the neighborhood. And you've granted this kind of relief before. Here's the thing, and it'll be very open and discreet. This is their final resting place. They have to empty a whole house and put it into this new place without making anything big or a second floor. Originally, we had a plan to do a second floor, and they nixed it because of age and steps, and they would have been 40 feet in the air. So we're looking to maximize some garage space so they can store their stuff.
Okay, I don't have a problem with this application. It's minimal, in my opinion.
Dave, do you need a wetlands permit for this?
She's asking if we need a wetland permit.
We're going through conservation. I've spoken to Marty Shea. We do not need DEC. The IA system that's being planned is the septic field is 100 feet off the bulkhead. So according to the DEC, according to Marty Shea, we don't need their approval to place to improve the project. I have a meeting tomorrow morning to make absolutely sure with the DEC up in Stony Brook, just to make sure that they're gonna, waive their effort.
But I'm not worried about the DEC, but you don't think you need a wetlands permit? I mean, we're gonna refer to the.
Yes,
You do need a wetlands permit.
Conservation.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then
So
the
we
board.
have to hold off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
that's
get
in
it.
the works.
Okay, no,
It is
but the board,
25
this
total.
board will have to adjourn this we'll have to wait
Until you get that.
to get the
Yes,
conservation board permit before they render a decision.
No.
Right.
Again, I just met with Marty yesterday.
Okay,
So-
so hopefully it'll be quick.
Total
Is-
side yard,
Is there,
25. It's totaling 24.5.
it's minimal.
It's minimal.
Which one?
Right, but do we just let it go? Do we need to, should we add that into any
No,
variance?
what is this, an R10?
10.
It's an R10.
You need 25.
Okay.
So he's
that
got
it doesn't-
12.8 on one side and 11.7 on the other. It comes out to 24.5.
Okay, so yeah, they need
We
relief for that.
should give them that relief.
Okay, just to make sure you don't have to come back at some point, we should
Exactly.
include that, right?
I'm on a
In the
side
variance
yard, total
request.
side yard tear
Yeah.
right now.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 9 Revedan Lane? Anybody on Zoom?
There should be someone on Zoom.
Should be somewhere else.
Somebody on Zoom? Uh-oh.
That was the person who called, who we were concerned with, so Candace is just gonna make sure.
Okay.
Well,
Is there somebody on Zoom? Is
he
he?
should be, I talked to him earlier today, he said he got the email. I showed him how to get to the Zoom link.
Right.
His
No,
name
but
is
you,
Hank.
is there a Hank on Zoom? Peter?
Hank on Zoom. Peter safe.
Successful life we're living. Got us feeling like the happiest. It just made me think of that Will and Jennings song.
Well, we can tell.
Yeah, that's it.
He's coming through.
Okay, Katie, is there closed caption on this?
On this?
Yeah, on the Zoom.
No.
Okay, so we're gonna have to translate, we'll have to repeat.
It might be on YouTube.
Barbara, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
relay.
You'll just have to understand.
Read his lips.
Hello,
Hi, we don't see you, Hank, we can hear you.
Susan.
all right. Listen, I have no issues, okay? As a neighbor, I'm okay with what's being done by Eric and Peg.
Okay, thank you, Hank.
He said he has no issue with it.
We
He
need
has
his
no
last
issue?
name,
Yeah.
Susan.
Hank, what's your last name and can you spell it?
Valadez, V as in Victor, A-L-A-D-E-Z.
All right, well, I didn't swear you in, but that's okay at this point. Thank
You want
you,
that
Hank.
again?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I'm sorry, the what?
I'm trying to swear you in so that we can record your testimony. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, yes.
Okay, thank you, Hank. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
I just want to add one other thing. Eric's mother, who he was the trustee for the estate, just passed 5 or 6 weeks ago. She's been dementia 2 years. I have a death certificate here, and I'd like to file that with Katie, just to let you know that she has passed. And
Is he the owner? Eric? Is Eric the owner?
Eric, yes, and this is his mother. This was his mother. He was the trustee of the estate and owner, and part owner. So.
All right, well, we may have to clarify ownership because was the house in trust or was the house owned in, as a co-tenancy?
Isn't it,
I
think it's Eric and his
Yeah,
mom.
I think there was a co-tenancy, but she was dementia.
Okay, well, that, we don't deal with that, but, hold on. Candace is checking something.
Yeah.
I don't want that now.
No, we don't want that.
No, because people have access to our files and you don't want anything.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, so your question is about Eric?
No, well,
Ownership.
the ownership. He's the applicant, but.
No, but the deed that I'm looking at is dated March 28th of 2002. And it's between Carola Maria and the first party is Eric L. Grieve.
Yeah, so then it's, he's the.
Party the second part. Yeah, I read that. It's party the second part. So Eric is listed on the deed.
As
But
the owner.
But it's,
The owner.
all right.
Right?
It's a co-owner who just passed away.
He's a co-owner.
Oh, really? Oh, I can't see that.
In your application package, it's on the deed. I'm looking that it says, here, John. What is it? Just make sure I'm reading that properly.
Well, maybe we need to find out if
Yeah,
it's
look at-
properly held in title.
Well, it looks like
Yeah. No, okay.
Carola is the mother.
Yes.
Okay, well, she deeded the property
deeded the
to
property.
Eric Grave on March 28,
She
2002.
deeded it.
Okay, so that's not an issue.
So it's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
So
Not
she
an
doesn't even need
issue.
to be on the application.
Well, she should have been on the application, but.
Yeah, so it's fine.
Right.
It's just Eric's application.
Okay,
He owns the property outright.
he's,
So what are we
So
doing?
now we just have.
all right, so, Bob, do you want to
Okay, so we're gonna hold it open for written submissions until February 7th with a
No,
decision.
No.
Just keep it open
Keep
for
it
much longer because
Got a wetland permit.
you can
Oh, okay,
close it for
wetland,
written
okay.
submissions, but let's put it off for like a couple months.
For decision.
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Because you have to get your conditional resolution of approval from the conservation board.
Right.
Close the public meeting, hold it open for written submissions
Yeah,
until.
maybe like 2 months, 3 months.
Decision.
Let's go to the,
So he hasn't filed yet, is that what it is?
We haven't filed with the wetlands yet.
Yeah.
We're finding out if
You
they
wanna-
need to, that was it.
oh, you don't know,
They're saying no, he's just getting clarity, we got it through Marty Shea,
Yeah.
and who else did you say? Marty Shea, and who else gave you said that you're not gonna need a wetlands?
Okay.
Who said that?
DEC.
DEC.
Health Department.
Okay.
Katie, you wanna go to April then?
yeah, just put it on, put it on for the second meeting of in March for decision, and then if it turns out they have to make a full-blown application, then we can reach
So
out.
the
Put it on for 3/20.
So that would be a decision,
Yep.
adjourn, for a decision on March 20.
Second.
Mr.
Talk to
Mr.
Marty.
All right.
Mr.
He's the
Leonard.
one that
Aye.
said. We
Ms.
just wanted to show
Payne?
it.
Aye. Yep. Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Aye. The chair votes aye. Okay,
All right.
okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Number 7 on the agenda, MLAR West Ponds LLC, 32 West Pond Drive, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-84-1-32.19.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam Chair, Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, for the applicant. This application was submitted by Burke and Sullivan. I was asked to take over due to a scheduling issue with Burke, so I'm new to this application, but I believe they submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing.
Yep, yep.
This application, this property is in the subdivision of Kellis Pond West. It is burdened in that, although it's not a traditional corner lot in that it's not at an intersection, the West Pond Drive does curve, essentially creating what is a corner lot there. As a result, it has essentially multiple front yard setbacks. I don't know if any of you, were any of you on the board 4 years ago? Were you there?
2001.
Yeah, so in January of 2001, this property, sorry?
2001 or 21?
January of 2021, sorry.
It's a little longer than 4 years.
Sorry.
I came in 22.
This property came in for a variance for the existing tennis court. And it's essentially the same relief that we're asking for now. Accessory structures in a front yard and relief from the accessory street setback, which is 70 feet. And we're asking for 9.5. The tennis court was granted relief of 59.2. The relief is for a small or a one-hoop basketball court. And I do have some images. You'll have to forgive me. The color printer was down today in my office. So they're black and white.
Candace gets the original.
They're all original.
Well, then just give Candace one and give us the rest, Carl.
So we'll hand them out one at a time. This is the an area map showing its proximity to a local ag reserve. I very artistically drew a red arrow, and then this is the next one you're getting is a more close-up version showing an existing basketball court right across the street.
Right across the street.
So, what we're asking for, as I mentioned, is this basketball court. You can see the proposed court on the survey. It's located in a position that's close to the existing ag reserve, which obviously does not have any residential development on it. And as you can see from the aerial, it's just acres and acres of open space. It's a horse farm. The size of the court is... Sorry?
I said they look like military drone pictures.
Like you're about to see the bomb drop?
Yeah, exactly.
So the size, the variance, the size of the court is 60 by 30 or 2,400 square feet, which is a relatively small structure as for an outdoor sports court. Again, across the street is an existing basketball court that is 10 feet closer to the road than the proposed. As a result, it's not going to cause this adverse change in the neighborhood or affect the character of the neighborhood. There is no place else on the lot that this court can go. You could theoretically put it somewhere else in the front yard, but that would be more of a burden to existing neighbors as you're moving it further from the ag reserve. There is no space in the rear yard, as was noted in the variance for the tennis court, which noted that there was no feasible alternative for the tennis court but to go there. Obviously, that would also apply to this basketball court. There is no other lot in the subdivision that is so burdened as this one. They all are more conventional lots without the multiple front yards or the bend in the road that creates that essentially what is a corner lot. The owner of this home has young adult children. One is just got married, one is getting married. They are anticipating their family will soon grow, and that was the reason they sought this. Like I said, there are other basketball courts in the neighborhood, most notably right across the street. There is no feasible alternative as far as placement on the property. Is it going to be substantial? Well, arguably, there is substance to this. It's a 70-foot setback. We're asking for essentially 30 feet in relief. As noted, they already received a variance that granted them 10 feet in relief for the tennis court. The lot is uniquely burdened in the neighborhood, and there is other examples of similar structures actually closer to the road than this. I would point out that the basketball court is in the front yard, as you know, and it is not adjacent in any way to any backyard, which is where most of the neighbors would be recreating and certainly would want the least disturbance. It's close to a road, which of course is its own disturbance. And we don't believe that the court would impact the sound or any noxious noises in the area more than what exists now. This subdivision is a cluster subdivision. We discussed those at the last meeting. So although it is in an R60 zone, it benefits from R40 zoning by virtue of the fact that the planning board created smaller lots, mostly to create that ag reserve as part of the open space. But again, the most burdened parcel is the ag reserve. It's a tight-knit community. We don't know of any opposition. I don't know if anyone's showing up tonight. Again, I've only been skippering this application for this week, but the previous attorney was not aware of any opposition, nor was my client. So I'd happily entertain any questions the board may have.
This is an application, so the privet hedge. What's the hedge on the? I've been to the property, but I want to just reiterate. What's the coverage? I think there's privet hedge.
The privet hedge.
On the corner.
Along the corner?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes, it's noted on the survey, yeah.
Okay, so that extends all the way, correct?
It
looks
would.
like it on the survey.
It would, and if it's not, if you want to make that a condition of variance, that's not a problem.
Okay.
From the aerials I saw, it did, but I have not, I will confess, I have not actually been to this lot.
Do we know how high is it? Is it sufficient screening?
If I recall it being easily 6 feet or more.
Yeah, it's a good height. It's a mature privet.
Okay.
It's a mature privet.
So we're not going to see the sport court from the.
No,
No, and if you want to.
From the street.
If you want to make that a condition of this, we would happily.
The concerns about sports courts are noise, that kind of thing. This, like you said, this is on the road. There's a great deal of, separation between this and the house most affected, which also has a sports court, which is really kind of interesting. Almost directly across the street from the beach. My question is, I looked at the survey, and you probably can't answer this. It says the maximum lot coverage is 20, and the existing lot coverage is 10. Is sports courts included in?
They would be included in rear yard lot coverage, but this is not in the rear yard.
Rear yard, okay. So it's not included in total.
Total lot coverage is just about roof structures.
Okay, okay. But if it's in the rear, but this is like such a weird piece of property,
It's a weird piece of property. This is all technically in the front yard.
Yeah. Is it necessary to have a sports court? Probably not, but I don't find this ridiculously offensive, so I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I agree.
Questions? Questions?
I had a couple of reactions. So the first was when I went to the site, I noticed the sides of the parking area in front of the house, which where I grew up, that would have been a perfect place to put a basketball court, and you wouldn't have needed what you're coming in for. I'm showing my humble beginnings. Putting that aside, most of the lots are a little narrow and they're a little smaller, and this lot had a little more area to compensate probably for the front yard setback issues that the lot is burdened with. I do worry about, and I take your point that, this is somewhat unique in this neighborhood, so maybe this is not a precedent that we have to worry about, but I wouldn't want to see, a whole bunch of people coming in with stuff on the front. So,
It's the inherent issue with sports courts. What is a sports court? Because if you just put a concrete patio there at less than a foot below grade, right? But then, I guess it's the lines on the court. And I'm just saying, I often
hear
think
you.
about that.
I hear
What's
you.
And the hoop.
And the
And the
hoop.
noise.
You could bring in a portable hoop.
But you could bring a portable hoop. That's what I'm.
On a concrete.
Correct.
Yep.
So,
But it's not
As for
portable.
the driveway, I brought that up to them too, because when I grew up, that's where the basketball hoop was. They need it for parking, plus it was more impactful to other neighbors.
it's right across, it's a lot
Yeah.
less distance between the houses and
They were-
that. It would be
They
a
were
lot
trying to
less.
put it as close to the agri zone.
Yeah, and also the neighbor across the street is pretty
That's
set
the
back.
basketball district. I
Yeah,
guess.
the basketball league will be there.
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter?
All two of you?
Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, so this is mine. All right, let me find my paper here. Okay. So, I'm going to, here's my, hold on, here it is.
220.
I know.
26.
27.
I'm sorry.
So I'm going to
27, yeah.
close the public hearing and hold it open for written comments until February 7th, with a decision on February 20th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mesto.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you,
Thank you
Carl.
all very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Too.
Home safe.
You too.
Okay, last but not least, number 12 on the agenda, right? Yeah, that's well, last of the hearings.
Yes.
12, application of Ocean View X LLC, 16 Ocean View Drive, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-271-1-39.
Can I give an original like this? Oh, you did? Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So let me swear you in.
Yep. Thank you.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. Please state your name and addresses separately.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental Planning, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley, New York.
Zachary Clanahan, 14 Gravel Hill Road, Hampton Bays, New York.
Okay, so tell us where we're at on this application.
So we're back.
You're back.
We were here about 2 months ago
Oops, sorry.
for a tear down, reconstruct of a new residence. We were asking for a few variances. The one that was ill-received, let's say, was our pyramid request, which was about 3,500 cubic feet. So Zach here went back to the drawing board and we submitted revised plans. I just handed out some photos so you can see the lay of the land. It still doesn't do it justice. It's best to go there personally if you can, because you can see just how much of a slope it is from the bottom of the road to the top of the road, and then from the road to the waterfront. So this is to try to represent that as best as possible. The be-all end-all is that Zach was able to do some reduction of the pyramid by about 1,300 cubic feet, but I will let him explain in the details of what he did.
Okay. It's good to see everyone again. I thought I'd take a step back and just show this analysis section, just because there were some comments that some people felt that the house was too big. And so if this was a a not normal conforming lot width of 100 feet. This is what the house would look like on a normal conforming lot width. And so you can see we're well within our pyramid lines on a 100 lot width. And also our ridge would be at 28 feet ridge height. So I thought it was good to just kind of take a step back, look at that to see that that is the design above grade. Then, unfortunately, we don't have a level lot. We don't have a 100-foot lot width. We have a 90-foot lot width where we're developing, and it's a grade change of 12 feet. And I'm assuming some have gone to the site to see that grade change. So it's very challenging. So I wanted to show this section, which shows to the east, this hill that comes down, that's tops out at around 45 feet. We're at average grade right now at 25 feet, and then the lot to the west is at 18. So we're dealing with all of these different grade changes that we're trying to navigate with and citing it with average grade. I looked at trying to
angle them up. So
sure.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I know it's actually a lot to take in, so if you want me to pass this around.
No, just leave it there. We can all look at it. Yeah.
I
All right.
did
So the grade level change from one end to the other is, you said 12 feet.
12 feet, yes, from property line to this property line. Okay. But then it goes steeply up to 45 on that side and then drops with a retaining wall that's existing.
And that's the road right up on the top.
The road is actually this way.
Behind.
Oh, okay.
Behind. This is a cross section from east to west.
Okay.
So, but we also have a big grade change that way as well.
I know. Okay.
Which we're mitigating with the driveway and the curve to help keep it safer. I did try to look to see if we could bring this down to a 10-foot ceiling height. The challenge is we have this existing grade here, and if I try to bring this down, it starts to pinch our 8-foot head height on our windows and doors, and it starts to make everything subterranean. So then I thought, okay, well, let's see if there's something that I can look at to help mitigate the cubic volume on the second floor. And what we decided to do is to take in each of these shed dormers, which is really the area that is violating. The rest of the building doesn't encroach. We moved each shed dormer in a foot from each side, and we felt like that wasn't substantial enough, so then we went to a 7'6" head height. We felt like we could do more, so then we went to a 7-foot head height. And so that's what brought us to our pyramid volume that we have now, where we were able to shave off 1,300 cubic feet. So we're coming in at 2,200, just a little bit over 2,200 cubic
It's
volume.
almost totally eliminated on the west side.
Could you give us the exact number?
Sure.
22.
Yep. It is 2255.92. I also wanted to point out one other thing. This neighbor over here is 85 feet away from the corner of this building, and he's also up at 45 feet. So he has the least impact from this building, and the neighbor to the west has already mentioned that he's okay with it at our last hearing. So I'm kind of reluctant to want to slide this house this way. I think it is really sited in the best place that we can really put this house.
So the neighbor on the east is the one that's elevated.
He's elevated
Yes.
at a base elevation of 45 feet.
Okay, and
The
the one on the
aerial-
west is okay with.
All I have is this.
Oh,
Yeah, this shows how he's back. This is about 85 feet back from where our corner is going to be.
Oh, let's see.
And
Oh,
dense vegetation.
And dense, yes.
Yeah, so if you
And
look
can see that in
at
the
the
pictures.
photos, you can see even from the beach, you can't even see that guy's house. It's photo number 5.
This is the house that's up.
And from in photos number 7 and 8, where I'm standing in front of the existing house looking at that property up the hill, you can't even see evidence of that house. There's maybe a little bit.
Over there, yeah.
But
Just a touch of the
it's
roof.
just
Yeah. Look,
so
I
far.
want to tell you, I really appreciate all the hard work you guys did.
This is one of the nicest
Considerable.
presentations we've seen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's considerable what you've done.
A lot of work went into it. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So, I can read a room. And
That's good.
I have pyramid relieve anxiety. And, but I do appreciate the effort. I think you have some unique circumstances here that we can differentiate on a going forward basis, unique to this site, so we don't have to continue eating somebody else's sandwich that they're
Great.
serving us.
The grade.
The grade is really
The grade really
such
is.
an
Right.
issue.
So,
Yeah.
so, you know, that's something that the decision, you know, may have to tend to.
It's in your findings. I could write a one-page decision. All of this is part of the record.
I think I didn't present it enough the last time, that I didn't highlight the grade change enough, and I think that section really helps paint the picture.
Yeah.
Very much.
How the lot is constrained.
Yes.
Yep. The building envelope is constrained.
Which page
I
has
don't
the
need to
totals
say
on it?
anymore.
I'm sorry?
Which page
Thank
has the pyramid totals on
It's
it?
the last page in the set.
Oh, yeah.
A603,
A603?
isn't it?
This one, it's 80A603.
Okay.
It's up on the top. It's got a
Ah,
bar.
got it. Yep.
Yeah, it's right up there.
And I also put the outline of the old shed dormers overlaid with the new shed dormers, so you can just kind of see the comparison of the two.
No, I have to agree with John and everybody else, and Kevin even, that, you know, you did a really good job.
Thank you.
Trying to come up with a modification that suits the applicant and suits us, so. Okay, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 16 Ocean View Drive?
No one on Zoom.
All right, Kevin, I think this is yours.
I think we should leave the hearing open for comments to be.
No, we closed the hearing.
I'm sorry, close the hearing and
Leave it
thank
open.
you. Close the hearing, take comments to February 7th with a decision on February 20th.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Aye. Chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice job.
Okay. On the secret coordination, do you want me to read the whole thing?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, turning to number 16 on the agenda, amortization of non-conforming sand mines. Amortization of non-conforming sand mines within the town of Southampton. On December 26, 2024, this board received Town Board Resolution number 2024-1522 in connection with the coordination of SECRA for the amortization of non-conforming sand mines within the town of Southampton. Said resolution lists the Zoning Board of Appeals as an interested agency.
Yes. Okay, so this board has never seen anything quite like this. We did coordinate SECRA once on a ZBA application, where the applicant was making an application to the DEC, and the DEC coordinated SECRA, and the ZBA was an involved agency because the ZBA was actually had an application before us. So the involved agencies are when you're taking an action, right? So that's why we coordinate with the planning board typically, because the planning board has to take an action, site plan, subdivision. The town board has this proposed local law in front of them. They've already had one public hearing. It's scheduled to be back on before the town board on, I think, the 28th. And so they are coordinating SECRA with involved agencies, but they have also asked for the ZBA's input, I think the planning board's input. Yes, the ZBA, the planning board, the Pine Barrens, and the Suffolk County Water Authority as interested agencies, which just means we might have some comments. And so really what we did was I circulated the proposed local law to you guys so you can take a look at it. And I just kind of wanted you to think about if you have any comments that you want to send to the town board, and I will memorialize them so that they'll have them for their meeting on the 28th. You know, I mean, it's as you can see, the town board is considering amortizing the sand mines, and then they've built into this amortization some relief for the sand mines. If and when the sand mines believe they still have some mining left to be done on the property, they can make an application to the ZBA, and then you would consider whether or not you want to grant that extension. As Kevin had mentioned to me before, it actually has the standards in it there. So it's not an area variance, it's not a use variance, it's something completely different, sort of like I don't want to call it a special use permit, but it's, you know, it's basically relief from amortization. And as an aside, this ZBA for a long time was getting applications for the amortization of signs. When the sign law was initially enacted, you know, all of the signs in the town had all of the non-conforming signs in the town had a certain amount of time, by which point they had to amortize. And some of them came to the ZBA for extra time, and then some of them actually came to the ZBA for variances from those provisions of the sign code. Now, you can't vary these provisions, you know, the sign law was more like, you know, the size of your signs, the color of your signs, the setbacks, and those are things that you could actually grant a variance for. The sand mines, you can't grant variances for them, but you can grant extensions. So that's the gist of it. I'm sure you guys all looked at it, it's not too long. So if you have any ideas or thoughts, let me know, and I will jot them down and forward them to the town board.
All right, so as I understand it, that they have 1 year from the law enactment to close the sand mines. If in fact Sand Mines wishes to appeal that, they make an appeal to us, the zoning board. We then take a look at what the appeal is and we make a determination as to whether 90% of the mines have been mined or have you seen this, John?
Yes, I have. I just left my copy at
So, you know, it's like, you know, we're allowed to grant an
No, there's no
extension
extra.
based on,
This is my copy.
but
If they make
Take
an
a look
appeal.
at it.
if they make an appeal, and we can rely on outside expertise to come in and advise us as to whether, so my question is, do we have a budget to bring in outside experts?
Assuming we get an application, yeah.
Well, yes, of
Yeah.
course, it's always assumption that we get an application.
Okay, so that would be a question.
When does the year up?
Well, 1 year after the law is enacted.
Okay, so not
It's not enacted yet. So, so they say that we have the right to, and there's a lot of valuations. That it's not just how much the mine has been mined, but there's also evaluations on the land without the building, blah, 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 blah. You know, there's lots of evaluations that would require expertise as well, that we wouldn't necessarily have. I mean, the burden is on them, and they'd have to bring in the people, but, you know, I would think that, you know, what kind of resources can we draw upon? I mean, that
Okay.
would be my concern.
Yeah.
In terms of taking, you know, this is a huge burden for us. I mean, you know, to take on this, you know, it's okay, we can do it, but I'd like to know that we've got the kind of support to fulfill our obligations.
It's outside of our range of normal
Yeah.
expertise, I think is
And
the
outside
point,
of
right?
our range to evaluate the experts that they would present us with. I mean, you know, the town's having a problem with that, so why wouldn't we have a problem with that? So,
Right.
you know, we need to be able to know that we've got the resources to.
Okay.
So may I just add to that, that if the town has already retained experts, would those be people we could rely upon, or do we need our own experts?
Okay. I'm not answering questions,
Yeah.
I'm writing
No,
down,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
you would, yeah.
How many identifiable sand mines do we have in town?
Not many.
That's curious, if we have a dozen or less?
No, well, the one big one is the one that.
Well, it's really, it's sand mines that are operating in residentially zoned areas.
Right, there's
That's-
criteria,
That's the
yep.
distinction.
Right, right.
We don't have
If
any
you're in
there.
an industrial
We have
area or a
one.
commercial area.
You know, it's a big issue.
Okay.
A question I have would be with regard to the interplay between the 1 year termination from the effective date and then the discussion of the presumptively reasonable termination periods. It seems, and it says unless the applicant proves otherwise, which would, if you've excavated 90% or more of the volume, you have to close within 1 year of the effective date. If it's 75% or more, 3 years from the effective date.
So that's why I was saying we need expertise. We'd be hard for us to make a judgment as to how
I
much
just think
it's
that the code section, the proposed code section seems confusing in that is it they have to automatically close within 1 year?
or are the closures based on this timetable?
They have to close
as
with,
to how much they've excavated.
way I-
and how do the two interact with
okay,
each
it's a
other?
good question, but the way I interpret it is that they have to close within a year. They have 60 days or whatever the time period is to make an appeal to us to say, we don't want to close within. So then we have to make a judgment as to whether, it's 90, if it's 90%, we can extend it from the enactment date of the law another year or whatever the thing says,
Right.
So,
No, I get that, but
Yeah.
but the subsection 5 says the following shall be considered presumptively reasonable termination periods.
right.
Which, and they're completely different from you all close in 1 year.
Right.
Unless the applicant proves otherwise. And that language also, I find it confusing. I'm not sure exactly how one would apply section 5. And so, because
I
it
see
seems
what
like you're
you're saying.
adding a layer of administration that is unnecessary. Like, if you're telling the sand mines they have to close within 1 year,
I see.
and then you're requiring them to put in an application to the ZBA to say, oh, but we've only excavated 75%, so we're really entitled to 3 years? Is that what that means?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a guideline, so that the ZBA doesn't think, how much time should I give them? There's a presumption that if you've only mined 75%, there's a presumption that it will take you 3 more years to finish that, unless the applicant can prove otherwise, right? Like,
Well,
whatever.
that's the part.
See, but it's
that's the part, John, because now I understand what he's, so it's like we're given 3 years, we give them 3 years, but they also have still the ability to prove that 3 years isn't enough.
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
Oh, is
Yeah.
that what the code is saying?
Yes, that's what the code is saying.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, information that we really, and expertise that we really just don't have. I mean, this isn't just like reading the code and, trying to.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, wait,
Yeah.
but that's not what it's saying. It says it shall terminate 1 year from the effective date of this local law unless within the time specified in B1, which is the 60 days, the owner or mortgagee or both apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals to contest said determination date and request an additional period of time to a date which the ZBA finds would provide a reasonable amortization period. So what this is requiring is you're all going to close in a year, and within 60
Except
days,
if you come
you
here.
have to make an application here and show that you've only excavated 50%, so you're entitled to an extended period of time. The lucky thing for us is there's only 6 mines.
True. It'll be an
That's the
interesting
lucky
year.
thing.
Well,
But I
and they
find
have to,
this is
and they
re-
have to appeal within 60 days. So,
Yeah, and
I
it's,
mean,
I
hopefully-
think you're adding in a necessary hearing when, like, why aren't we requiring or proving what they've excavated already? Give them that time frame, and then if they need more time, they come to us. It just seems like an unnecessary extra level. That's my
I'm
take
not
on this.
exactly sure I understand what your take is on that, but my concern is that we're going to be asked to evaluate whether they've done 90%, 75, or 50,
Well,
and
and
we
we're
have
necess-
We can't.
And we're necessarily going to get all those applications because they have to close in 1 year.
From the
And then
Yes.
they have to apply to us and say, look,
So,
and prove
how
I've
many did
only
you say there were?
excavated 50%.
Seven?
6. There's 6 sand mines open.
Okay, well, I can identify those. I also was just thinking, as John was speaking, and I was thinking of the signs, it also might be worth it for the ZBA, if this is adopted, for the ZBA to kind of say to the town board, maybe we need to have like a special night for these. I feel like once upon
Right.
a time, there was, can't remember if it was for signs or for some, oh, you know what it was? It was for coastal erosion. It was for coastal erosion permits. We were getting an influx of those during the hurricanes or the superstorms, and so we were like setting a night where we did only coastals.
Yep.
So I mean that
That's a
might
good
be
idea.
something too, like build in an extra meeting, or in lieu of something like that. I mean it's more work
That's a smart,
I-
yeah.
but I mean it
So,
it's
I
likely
agree.
that we would get appeals from all of them.
so here's
No
the
more
question I
passes.
have that is a
We should
little
know what
different than
percentage they're
everything
at.
else, which has been
Exactly.
great. And that
Hold on
is,
1 second, let's,
Oh, sorry.
one
Go, go, go,
conversation.
go.
so the issue is this: when the sand mine use is being amortized and forced to close, and it's based on how much sand somebody might say I was still allowed to mine another 50,000 cubic yards, I'd get 6 more months of operation. That's one thing you can measure that, right? We can do the math and calculate it. It's the other uses that happen at sand mines, receiving all kinds of C&D debris, receiving all kinds of other stuff. Is that terminated too? In other words, is the whole operation and everything there concluded?
Yes.
Yeah, what you're talking
It
about is the
is.
reclamation.
Yeah.
And that's right, and that's considered to be the thing, the offensive thing that could cause the contamination of groundwater. So, yeah, it would all cease.
Right. So okay.
Although, if you stop the mining operation, it seems to me that there has to be reclamation because you have to put the land back into, because you've exposed
Yes.
groundwater.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to put it back into its natural state.
So is there a remediation component, and who can help us understand that?
Well, I would assume that the remediation component would be in the determination that they've got to close, like giving them 1 year.
Yeah.
That should be spelled out, and the termination must spell out what they've got to do, and then we can extend the termination date. We shouldn't be evaluating whether they're doing the reclamation. That should be part of the termination,
Yes. Thank you.
because they
That's
should
an affirmative way to characterize
Yeah,
my
they
concern.
should they should absolutely determine what is required for the determination that they've got to,
Yeah.
you know,
That, yes.
they've got to put the land back in order and blah, blah, blah. We shouldn't have to be doing that. We should be evaluating whether they need an additional period of time because they either have some
Yeah, that the cease operation should have
cease
a
operation.
plan that puts the facility in a safe place rather than just abandoning a mess.
Yes, right. So is it just an abandonment or is it a reclamation, like you said?
It
listen-
should be both,
It
because
should
they're
be
the
both.
ones who do the reclamation.
It should
Well,
be,
I mean,
yes.
here's the thing. The truth of the matter is there's examples of sand mines that had a second generation of use after that type of initial use. So there's other examples of it, you know, further west of here.
I do agree we should have a special session at least.
At least.
Because it can't be crammed into our regular agenda.
And if we had a special session, what would be the representation from the town?
Special counsel, no offense, and other expertise that we might need. Engineers,
Right.
that type of
Town personnel, what other personnel would be available to us besides the expertise? You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's an enormous undertaking for you, Katie. I mean, you might, you know, in terms of.
Unless you want
I mean,
to make the case for special counsel.
I mean, I don't know. I just kind of look at it like another application that you're going to get. I mean,
Yeah,
you have so many things that are beyond what
Normal.
your normal expertise is. Anytime,
Yes, but they spell out in here.
Yeah.
These are the things that we need to, in making the determination, value of the land without buildings, value of the buildings, you know, depreciation, you know, all that kind of.
Yeah,
You know,
those are
that's
all
a whole new.
Those are all pieces of the use variance standards. I mean, I listen. I'm just saying we don't need special counsel. I mean, we don't. You know,
Yeah.
this is.
All right,
this
okay.
is
But, you know, but.
no, I got all the questions, but I
Okay.
you know, in terms of special staff, I mean, I can take your
Oh,
comments
good.
and
I'm so
write them up.
glad,
And
because we would
Right,
like
but
to work
how are
with
we
you.
going to be determining whether or not they've excavated 50%,
Well, that
75%,
we'd have to have an
90%?
expert.
Well, if you had
Come
a
in and do it.
if somebody had a permit that says you're allowed, I'm going to make this up, right? 75 feet deep, 45-degree angle slopes, with a 100-foot setback around the whole thing. You could measure that. A survey could tell you that, right?
Okay.
And if they go, I'm allowed to go, again, making this up, if I'm allowed to go 100 feet or 50 feet or whatever, and I only went to 20, here's an area, this is a calculation, again, math, cubic, sort of like a pyramid in sand, right? This is the volume.
Right.
And then you go, okay, and
But we should have the ability to draw on people who
sure, and
who
that
have
goes back to your question
expertise.
about their special resources,
Yes.
and
Yes.
how do we identify them, and how do we
Right.
get them, and who pays for them, and
Yeah, I mean, do we have a
who's
budget?
available to us.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I,
No,
I
and
do not want to be sitting here making independent engineering judgments about
I like the suggestion
I
of
think Bob
a
would,
special
yeah.
calendar. Because you can almost, they all have to do
Take
it
as much
within
time
60
as well.
days. We better have a special meeting.
Yeah, this is.
I think before when the law is enacted, we should have the 6 sand mines, what percentage they're at
Yes,
up front.
I agree.
And the town should have their own engineers go out and do that.
That would
This
be
way, when they come before us, this sand mine is at 70%, this guy's at 50%,
Yeah,
so
that
we know
makes
what
a
we're working
lot of
with.
See, it seems to me like they should be using us as an appeals board, like what we do, which is if you don't agree with what the town has determined in the first instance with regard to how much you've excavated, then you come to us. Because right now, all that this law is doing is forcing them to come to us in the first instance, no
Right.
matter what.
That's a good
Or
point.
some may say, I can't possibly meet this criteria.
Exactly.
Every building on the premise is 100 years old, is fully depreciated.
right,
And I'm out of sand. Next.
No, I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
They should, and the burden is on the applicant.
They probably all
obviously.
know what percentage they're at now as it is.
You would think.
You would
They
think.
probably do.
They know.
They probably do.
Okay,
It's down to a
I
science.
gotcha. I got it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're not done. I have one decision.
Oh, we have it's like an amendment,
I
right?
have a
That's how
You
you
code.
do it.
don't need to do any motion, no votes or anything like that. It was just to have a discussion.
Yep.
Okay, I just want, since I can take it off my screen.
Yes, yes.
Take it off. Okay, this is a corrected decision in the matter of Marie Daly, 9 Pine Road, Noyak, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-5-5-29. On December 5th, 2024, this board by decision D-024131 granted relief for a new 2-story dwelling. This decision, however, referred to the wrong property address in its findings and determination. Therefore, ZBA decision D-024131 dated December 5, 2024 is hereby amended to refer to a property located at 9 Pine Road, Noyak. All other provisions and conditions of said decision remain in full force and effect.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye.
I seconded, yes. Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're closed.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
We're off the record now, right?
Yes.
Well,